All right, so we are live now. Let's see if I can avoid the echo intro here. I don't think it's going to come
Gotta
up.
go for that patented echo intro. I mean, we have echo on stream, so it's like
You got to get it.
Echoception. We need that.
Let's see here. Yeah, so I'm on with Dan and Echo tonight. Good to be with you both. Thank you for hopping on pretty last minute.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I just felt like hanging out with people that I enjoy on the hobby and just kind of talk some cards. No big. I had a couple things on my mind that maybe we'll bring up or talk about like throughout, but all three of us are talkers, and I think we'll I'm sure we'll get into some good topics.
We'll find a way to fill out the airtime, I'm sure.
Yeah, that's never the issue.
Yeah.
So if people do have questions, feel free to put them in chat. We probably will do like Q&A parts of this where we tend to like go into that, but why don't we just start a little bit for those who I think everyone probably knows Dan. I'm not going to have Dan introduce himself, and he's been on the channel multiple times recently as well. But Echo, if you can just introduce yourself again quickly. Echo's been on this channel at least twice, I think.
Yeah, I think twice.
Maybe 3 times. I'm not sure. So I probably most people know Echo too, but just in case, if you introduce yourself, like,
no worries.
Briefly, Echo has a channel, go support him. You know that good stuff.
Thanks. Yeah, so my name's Joe, Echo Based Collectibles. I've been collecting and involved in the game in one way or another since it came out in 1999, 1998. Highlights are I used to head judge a lot. I head judge nationals. Went to Worlds 4 times, top 16 twice, top 10 once. I have a YouTube channel. I stream on Whatnot. I have a pretty healthy collection. I do modern distribution. I come at it from all angles. Originally, as a player, as an organizer, tournament organizer, I ran all the East Coast tournaments, East Coast regional level tournaments, and gym challenge and stadium challenge events for a long time. Ran 4 Pokemon leagues at the height of it. Got out of the game and the hobby for about 10 years. Basically, long story short, moved over to Magic with my friends, like a lot of people do. But I never got rid of my stuff and moved into my house, pulled out my cards right around November of 2020. And then saw what everything was worth and was like, whoa, okay. How do I maximize the responsibility I now have to get the most value out of this? Because my original goal was I promised my then wife that once we moved, I would start selling all my collectibles because I needed the space to set them out and organize them. But I had moved on, and by pulling my stuff out, I fell in love with it again, and I was like, I can't sell this stuff. and then I wanted to start picking up cards again, but of course we were in a mania. So I started my channel back up mainly as a vlog style channel of like the struggle it was to go around and actually just try and find anything to open, which led me into trying to get distribution rights initially just to get stuff for myself to open.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting, people who kind of got back into the hobby but had a little bit maybe more experience with prices, and so we're a little bit more maybe kind of aware initially of like, okay, this is like a kind of a crazy weird time, and I really want to open Pokemon and I want to buy vintage stuff and I want to collect, but the prices are kind of crazy, versus the people who hadn't collected at all or really been involved at all since they were kids and were kind of coming back and maybe didn't have any frame of reference, didn't have any reference point. The prices were just sort of like the prices, so they were kind of buying and engaging with where it was at.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Echo, what do you tell me a little bit? Because Dan and I have talked on the subject a few times on my channel already, but and I I know I'm sure you've talked about this. I know you've talked about this on your channel, but tell me a little bit about what you're seeing right now in the market, how you're
Yeah.
feeling personally, what your, basic strategy is, kind of what you're doing, right now.
So I see modern very healthy right now. It's very interesting because I just watched Dan's video on my drive home tonight. Very, very, I love Dan's Excel graph videos. They're amazing. But it was I think Pokemon is still in a very healthy state overall, way up from where we were 3 years ago. But we are not unsusceptible to greater market influence like everything else. So, when everything's down, we're going to be down too, which I think is understandable. Um, However, I still see demand for modern at an all-time high. Like modern, it's interesting because I have a different perspective being a whatnot streamer. Um, there's just certain cards that just people can't get enough of them. They just can't get. I can't supply them fast enough. Like it's insane, and we're not talking like very high prices. I mean, what's MSRP on a pack now? 429, something like that. So like when I'm charging $5 a pack and adding prizes into the mix, like it's not much more over store prices, but people still like they're clamoring for the stuff like nonstop. And I'm not even that large of a whatnot streamer. Like I have I think I'm up to 2.8 thousand, but I mean there's old. I mean old's up to like I think it's up to almost 10. I mean there's definitely channels that like they move units of this stuff, and I don't see that. I mean, I think modern's just nailing it out of the park with what they're doing with a lot. The alt arts are fantastic. They're great. It's a great way to add chase value to sets that otherwise would probably have no value. I mean, you look back at a lot of the XY sets, a lot of the Sun and Moon sets, and having very few chase cards in the set and a set very easy to complete, but being extremely mass produced, people are going to lose interest in that really fast. Um, so I think that adding the chase rarity aspect that the alt arts provide, being one in every. I mean, I'm going on eight or 10 cases of Astral, and I've pulled two Misty character rares out of eight to 10 cases. um,
Yeah, I think that's that there are a lot of different parts to the market, right? And so one area of the market is sort of like what is whatnot representing? It's an interesting question, right? Like
yeah.
who are the buyers on whatnot?
So
Are they people who are primarily interested in opening packs? Are they people who are trying to get good raw mint cards to grade? Is it some combination? It's an interesting
I
question.
my primary because I know a lot of my so I equate it. I finally put a finger on what it feels like. To me, Whatnot, I told Mason this, Whatnot to me feels like running an online local gaming store. I know virtually 80% of my customer base by name. And they all have, and you start to learn their personalities. Like you start to like recognize and learn these people and what they want. I tailor my single streams to what people want for collector. And it's not to regrade. It's not stuff that they want to regrade. They just want raw mint cards, raw near mint cards for collecting purposes.
For
You know,
binders.
for binders, exactly. I've seen a huge swing back to raw over graded recently. I mean, we're not talking the high end stuff that we all talk about, the top 10% of the cards holding their value long term. But I see a lot of the community, the collector community realizing that, an 8 in a slab looks just as good as an 8 in a binder and might be moving back to binders.
So
Raw moves easy.
I
Raw
look
moves
at it a
real
little
easy.
bit differently, and I'm interested to hear your opinion, Echo, and also Dan. I think that part of the market is just consistent and has been there the entire boom and has been huge. Like, so I look at it more as the binder collector pack opener, which is why all these new online streaming businesses have started. It's why Whatnot's been able to start. So I would think that it's more like now you're just more engaging with that because you have Whatnot as a platform. My guess would be like, and Mason could comment on this or like, LGS stores, but like like I think that the sort of negative like investing attitude in Pokemon, or sort of the fear from people spending lots of money on cards or grading or doing those sorts of things, that has really diminished, but I don't feel like the rest has increased. I feel like it's more the exact same. It's just now does that make sense, Echo? And maybe you
It
disagree.
does.
It's
No, I'm
more
just
like, that would
processing
be
it.
my guess. It's more that like those people just love opening packs, and love creating binders and have the whole time. It's not so much about flipping or making money. And I think probably a lot of them, like they want it to hold some value. They like that, but it's like a fun way to like chill at the end of the day with their friends, right? And you're
So
like a friend, Echo, right? I mean, they care
yeah,
about you, and the other people in the stream. More that environment than the sort of like, I'm trying to start my own business, I am looking to create a humongous collection, that sort of thing.
so more like what I was referring. So I run two types of streams. I do break packs, but I do run single streams too. And when I run singles, it's vintage. It's mostly vintage. I don't really touch modern singles much. But like for instance, I'll throw up like I ran a lot of like I run a lot of I run a lot of e-reader hollows and a lot of e-reader mint stuff, like near mint stuff, and I can run the raw cards for recently comped prices on eBay raw. And yes, people can probably grade those as well, but I get a lot of people that just want them for binders. They just want you know, yeah, you can grade them and you can make margin on them if they wanted to do that too. But I just see a lot of opportunity in just doing modern or just doing raw instead of trying to trying to turn every card in existence into a slab. Like I think a lot of what the frenzy was in the hype was everyone was like, "Oh my god, we have to grade everything. Everything needs a grade." It's just not true. Everything doesn't need to be graded. I think we're going to move back to the way grading was prior to the hype, where you're going to grade your nines and tens of the top 10%, and that's where your margins are going to be. And your base set Hitmonchan in a 7 doesn't need a grade. It needs a binder. I think more people prefer it that way. That's what I see anyway.
And I feel like I completely agree, but the way I'm like rephrasing the narrative is that they always, like, they didn't leave the hobby. Like, it's the stonkers that left that were pushing up a lot of
Yeah.
the grading. Whereas I don't feel like there's been an increase all of a sudden in people who like are collecting binders. Maybe, I mean, there probably are some people who've moved that way because they got burned on graded cards and now they're doing more of that. So I just think that, but I mean, I agree with you that certainly when we're talking about, $10, $20 type of cards being graded or being mass graded, I mean, a lot of those are being mass graded by like businesses, not even, or like, individuals trying to flip, trying to do sort of their like side hustle type of thing. People like
Right.
Dan. And that disappeared for a variety of reasons. One, like the sales prices of those cards have gone way down. There was a while where those cards were selling for like 50 to 80 to 100. If we take like the Champions Path, like Charizard promo or something like that, the ETB promo. And then obviously the grading fee hiking up, which then, so the price have come down. The grading fee is still $30 or whatever it is right now. And so there just isn't a margin to be made. It'll be interesting to see when that comes down. Because it's unclear, has the demand decreased or has the supply just really increased? So my point in all of this is like, when we try to figure out like the actual, like, the data doesn't tell us why, if that makes sense. Like the data doesn't tell us, like, clearly these slabs are lower and singles are holding, but the data doesn't say exactly why. Does that make sense? So like, we
Yeah.
different sort of whys. What do you? Yeah, go ahead, Echo, or Dan, jump in if you have something.
Just remind me to bring up another point in a second,
Yeah.
because I was reading chat and Peak actually brought something up that's worth mentioning. We found this out in the Discord earlier today. But anyway, in a minute, I guess.
I think on the whole, Jake was kind of saying that certain people stepped out, so the proportion of binder only collectors might have felt like it went up just due to the absence of other people. I, to a certain extent, though, am one of the people who, due to the boom of 2020 and 2021, I went back more to like binder. I still have a lot of graded cards for my personal collection, but just given the prices, when I first assembled all my binders, PSA 9, or when I first assembled all my graded card collection, the entire PSA 9 WotC first edition set of hollows was like 30 grand, which is a lot of money. But then that ballooned to nearly 10x at peak boom, and it's not there anymore, but it's still really, really high. And so I've migrated a lot of sets back to binders, mostly the first sets that are really printed most heavily. I still have a lot of the Neo and E series era in PSA 9 condition graded, but yeah, I think it's a combination of both. I mean, that's almost always the answer. If there's two extremes, it's usually some blend of the two. So one thing I wanted to comment on, just agreeing with Joe, modern, it's crazy, the demand. 9.1 billion cards printed in fiscal 2021. I feel like not enough people are talking about it. I've seen it talked about here and there. I have my own video going out Wednesday on it. That is so many cards. We don't know. We don't have the data on exactly what was printed in 1999 and in 2000. This very well could have been the most printed year of all. Like, and
We
it's crazy to think that. And
we
then not only that, but like how strong these booster box prices are. Like the weakest booster boxes, Chilling Reign, Battle Styles, not even weakest because of the set, weakest because of the print waves, whatever. They're $90 boxes still. And you've got Evolving Skies at what, 160 plus. You've got Vivid Voltage and Darkness Ablaze holding at 130 after the reprints. It's mind blowing that 9.1 billion cards were pumped into the market, and the prices are as strong as they are for ultra modern. It's really fascinating.
we crashed bulk.
Bulk is one cent
Well,
again.
I was gonna sort of say and make that point is that where's the demand? So is the demand for opening packs? Is the demand just for the alt arts? Is demand for the alt arts, the Vs, the playable cards? Is the demand because we may find that Pokemon has printed so much of this era, right? The danger is that the demand is just for opening, and then really the only like good investments or market value is going to be like in the sealed product.
I
The yeah.
sorry.
No, and I'm not saying that that's going to be the case, but as time goes on and more is open, it's going to be interesting to see why they needed to print so much. Was it so that everyone could fill up their binder, collections in the long run, or was it so that everyone could open what they wanted to open because there were so many people who wanted to open product? And I'm not saying that obviously I have no idea.
So I think that the alt arts are going to be a hit for a long time come. I think that those are going to be solid prices on graded, raw, whatever. Those are going to be sought after. That is a home run. Therefore, sealed's going to be a home run because they're very hard to get. They're both going to be good for a long time to come. Other than that tier of rarity in modern, I don't know. I can't tell you if a Charizard V is going to be in demand 10, 15 years from now. I don't think a lot of the artworks on a lot of the other tiered rarities are strong enough, or the type of hollow pattern in the card stock is strong enough to actually, or the tie to it, the emotional tie to it. I mean, a lot of the reason the WotC is not the best artwork in the world, but we have emotional ties to those cards. But the alt arts, those slap, and those people are going to want those for a long time. That's my prediction. Um, even if they could go down some, but I think that if they release another type of card in the future, But I think that it's enough of a subset. They're good enough that there's going to be people that are going to be introduced to, oh, I really like Dragonite. Oh, they made a Dragonite. Well, what else did they make? Like I just think there's enough of that to carry that class of card going forward. I think it'll be up there with gold stars, with shinings, with crystals. I just think it's a good rarity type. I think it'll hold box prices because they're very hard to get. They're one in a case. I mean, 1 in 3 boxes sometimes. It's not. They're hard to pull. They're hard to pull the one you want. I see Nostalgianomics jumped in, but
He
he's
liked my
not.
comment there. Yeah.
He's not. I mean, I do see the prices of the modern booster boxes. Maybe not in the short term. They're not going to stonk to the moon, but yeah. I mean, I don't think that they're going to go down long term. I think that's booster boxes are pretty safe usually. God ain't printing no more of them. What's out there is going to stay out there once the print run's done. And I think that the alt arts are enough to carry them for most of the sets. Battle and Chilling may suffer based off the alts that are in that set. I think those two may struggle behind the other alt art sets. Of the, let's say, 8 alt art sets that they end up making, 10 maybe. Those might still continue to be the 2 lowest in value, just based off of the particular Pokemon you can pull out of it. That's maybe my prediction on that, but
yeah, I mean, I'm much more bearish on alt arts. Sealed product, I'm not particularly bearish on. I think if Pokemon does well, sealed product will do well, and sealed product just has the benefit of like when it depends what you mean by that. I don't see it as this like golden goose, forever sort of green, forever going up type of thing, but much more steady, much more stable. The alt arts, to me, it's just way too early. Like when you say Echo, like it's going to be like gold stars or it's going to be like shinings. I think both it's going to be so much less rare, so much less condition rare, and so much easier to grade. Like radically.
So,
like we're talking like 100 times, in my opinion, 1,000 times, 1,000 to 1. Then so there's that piece. The second piece is the gold stars have been really popular and desirable for 10, 15 years now. The alt arts, and that doesn't mean they're going to be forever. But there's a lot more time of actually people liking them. I don't really believe much in people's feelings at any one given time. And
I've heard you say that, yeah.
So I don't invest in feelings when we think about like people's current sentiments. Like I completely respect and love that you say that they slap and you feel that way, and I like them too. But like, just speaking the way my mind works, right?
Okay.
And I'm not saying that, and I appreciate your opinion, and I think you would absolutely be right. These are just there's no crystal ball, but this is why I wouldn't place my bet on them. I would say, or why I would put it in other things. So it's the rarity issues, and then it's the fact that people's perceptions and people's tastes can change so radically that I don't really like what people enjoy or follow in the moment. I want to see years and years and years and multiple, groups of people. And I want to see it survive the next generation and the next generation. I already think like Hidden Fates has taken a huge dive in demand and popularity and interest from where it was. I think people talked exactly the way they talk about alt arts about Hidden Fates. I think that's already taken a huge dive in interest. Will it have a resurgence? Likely at some point, but people get bored of things, so why I say that is I just think it's hard to, I saw someone in the chat say like alt arts are a no-brainer, like these types of things. And I guess I just feel like it's not a no-brainer.
Why do you say that?
Well, I've got an analogy.
I feel like a pretty strong.
I think I have an analogy that can work for it too. Like the Scream promos knocked it out of the park. The Mario boxes knocked it out of the park.
Sure.
They were pretty modern. They were during a period of like much greater print runs and general popularity than the Gold Star era. But in hindsight, it's like Mario and Scream were obvious. They were guaranteed, like they were going to do well. It was obvious.
But do you know the difference?
But the issue, like today, the stamp promo box, a lot of people say, oh, it's the next Scream, it's the next whatever. It can't be, because it's happening now and people are saying it's the last one. So the print runs are higher out of the gate and the prices are higher out of the gate. Like I was picking up Scream promo sets of the 3 cheap ones for $20 for the 3. Pikachus were 50, Mimikyus were 100. I think Pikachus were even a little cheaper than that. And same thing with the gold stars. Like out of the gate, they weren't as like alt arts. It's already priced in. A lot of optimism is already priced in, just like with the stamp boxes. And as Jake said, the pop reports of these alt arts from Battle Styles, and
So
they're already at or exceeding the total graded amount of a lot of the gold stars from X amount of years ago.
okay, I'm not speaking to the graded alt arts. I'm speaking to the demand for the what I foresee the demand for the raw cards going to be. Um, in my opinion, the difference between the alts and something like the Screams or the Pikachu's, or sorry, the Screams or the like the Luigi Mario Pikachu's, is the alts released in English to our market, a much wider market. They touch more people than those two other examples are very niche. The demand for those might never go beyond what it is because your average person's not going to see those as much. You got kids opening packs in Walmart and Target pulling alt arts out. And I just think that these kids are going to grow up and they're going to remember these alt arts the way that that we remember the cards that we're fond of. They've been in enough sets now. It's a thing. Like I get the mentality of not banking on emotion, and I totally agree. Analytics are the way to go. But when I pull back as a top level view, and I think of like some I don't know how to yes, it is a feeling, and I don't know how to quantify it. But when I think of
it's like someone said in the chat, they're objectively beautiful. Like
they
that's
are
the sort of
objectively
idea.
beautiful.
And it's like, well, that's not a thing. But like it's a lot of people's opinion, right? It's objective to say, it seems
Right.
that right now, a lot of people's subjective opinion in this moment is that they're extremely beautiful and they're going to stand the test of time. That is objective.
Well, not just that,
And
but they
that's
are
improvement. That's demand in the moment.
They do have the scarcity factor too. They are hard to pull. They are hard
Relative
to
to
pull.
what? Relative
to the cost of the booster boxes in order to get them.
Gold stars compared to the cost. I mean, it's
Not even close. Not even close. An $80 booster box, you get some of those booster boxes. You get 1 gold star a box. Some of them are 1 every 3 boxes.
I haven't done the math, but
there's only 3 gold
$80
stars
a box. They're
He's talking about back in the day.
Talking about back in the day.
Oh no, I'm talking about now.
Right, that's what I'm saying. But the booster boxes, you take what gold stars were 10 years ago to now, let's say, right, whatever. So, but 10 years ago is equivalent to now in modern. So 10 years from now, the booster boxes aren't going to be the same price they are now. They're going to be more. So instead of there being 3 gold stars in a set and them being 1 a box, 1 every 3 box, you got 6, 7 alt arts in a set, and they're 1 or 2 a case. Like they're just harder to pull. Raw. I'm just talking about people trying to get a set of them. They're gonna be hard to get. I'm thinking like people that get them are gonna want them and they're gonna want to keep them. I get people all the time asking me for Moonbryon. Like people want these cards.
That's
like
extremely popular. That isn't deniable. But what also isn't deniable is the objective pop reports and the speed at which they're growing and the ease to get the 10s. So
sure,
it's just a math problem. So if those they're going to need like 10 times, 20 times, 30 times the popularity, maybe 100 times the popularity to be equal price to Gold Star. Now, you're not claiming they're going to be equal prices to the Gold Stars, right?
I wouldn't be
That would
surprised.
Okay,
Hold on. I'm not talking about PSA tanks. I'm talking about raw prices. I wouldn't be surprised if 5 to 6 to 7 years from now, a raw Moonbryon was on par with a raw Latios Gold Star.
I think one big thing that Ultra Modern needs that 10-year period where Pokemon is almost dead. and it might not get it because like base through Rocket especially, the print runs were astronomical. But we're having astronomical print runs now, and PSA grading or not, I know you're talking about raw generally, but PSA graded prices do drag up the raw prices. Like raw and PSA 10 prices, there's a correlation there, definitely.
Okay.
So yeah, like ultra modern just maybe it will get a 10-year period. Maybe from 2025 to 2035, Pokemon will be like on its last legs, but then they're probably going to go to the sports route and they're going to do a 1 of 10 Charizard and then just send us to the moon again. I don't know, but it is interesting to think about. It's interesting to project, and I mean, all you can do is really place your bets. And if you're investing, if you're speculating, whatever you're doing, place your bets.
And I think that, right, like I cannot predict demand. Okay, so they could definitely be more expensive than the gold stars, theoretically, right? It's just a matter of demand. But if you're saying that they're going to be more expensive than the gold stars,
I say they're going to be
you have
on
to understand
par.
the difference in sort of the amount of them, the condition rarity. You are projecting that they're going to have a
No, yeah, you're right.
many multiples. It's just math. It's just
I don't think they'll overtake the gold stars, but I do think that they're going to be up there in like when you think of what's the coolest rarity level to collect. I think they're going to be up there in the top 3 or 4 of all time for sure. Like I think they're going to be up there
that is
with
Joe. I just
one thing I think is constantly underestimated is the ability of artists to make beautiful art.
Yeah.
Like
true. Yes.
25 years from now, picture this. We're just entering, is Scarlet Violet Gen 10 or Gen 9?
Yeah, it's Gen 10.
So 25 years from now, we're entering Gen 20. There's 2,000 Pokemon species. Like just in the past few years, we had the beautiful amazing rares, the beautiful alt arts. Over the history of Pokemon, we had so many beautiful sets and Pokemon, and artists are going to continue being artists over the next 25 years. I can't imagine will alt art stand the test of time? Yeah, sorry.
This is a very random thing, right? I'm going to throw out a Star Wars right now because that's
okay.
Okay, so just to give so there's a beautiful new set that
chat's saying Gen 9.
I thought it might have been 9.
Some people are potentially pumping and dumping right now on sports card people, on other sort of people, regardless of if there are, a lot of that happened in the Marvel market. I don't know if you guys follow the PMGs and sort of the craziness that sort of happened in the PMGs. Basically, just a quick synopsis for people to understand. In Marvel, there are these cards that are, fairly difficult to pull. From sets ranging from like 2013 to 2017. They have it now too in 2021, whatever. They're called precious metal gems, and they are numbered cards. They're hard numbered cards out of 100. Okay. Something that Pokemon has not done yet. All right. So these are cards that there's literally 100 in the world. There's 50 in the world. There's 10 in the world. There's 5 in the world, et cetera, et cetera. So, so Star Wars does this as well. Now, Star Wars Pokemon is so much more popular than Star Wars in terms of card collecting. It's not even, so when we're talking about demand, this is the hard thing to predict, right? But when we talk about rarity, just to give some sense, I would argue that these Galaxy cards in the Star Wars set, and I like Masterwork and Topps Finest from 2018. There's a lot of different Star Wars sets that are really cool. But for anyone who likes Star Wars out there, go and look up, if you haven't heard of it yet, the Galaxy set from 2021.
Doing it right now.
Beautiful refractor cards, gorgeous full art. I think pretty much anyone who likes Star Wars takes a look at some of these and is like, oh my gosh, these are phenomenal. Now, if you don't like Star Wars, you're not going to like that. Dan hasn't watched the movies and has no interest in Star Wars. That's valid. My point in bringing that up is these are hard numbered cards. So they're 1 of 1s, 1 of 5s, 1 of 10s, 1 of 25, 1 of 100 in the whole world of these cards. And you can buy them for $15, $25, $30, $100, $200. Okay, so when we talk about rarity, like Pokemon has no rarity compared to that. Now, the serialized hard number stuff is a whole different world than Pokemon, but I bring it into this discussion to sort of throw in this element of how little, like how much we're dependent on demand. And demand is an extremely powerful force. We see it all throughout the hobby. We see it with the Ancient Muse. We see it with the CD promos. Like we see it with all these amazing cards. We see it with the alt. We see it with the alt arts, right? We see the power of demand, okay? And then we see how the lack of demand impacts hobbies. So even if, any of MetaZoo's doing lots of serialized, like any card company can throw out a lot of serialized cards, and if there's no interest or demand, they're not going to have any value just because there are 5, 10, 20 of them. Why do I want this thing, right? Of course. But one thing is objective. The other thing is highly changeable and emotional and subjective, and also highly influenced by influencers and by current market sentiment. That's just what I want people to understand. And so that's the risk you're taking. So if you're betting on these, you're really making a real strong bet on demand, which it sounds like is what you're doing, Joe. You're like, people freaking love these. They're going to be one of the 3 best things forever, I think you said, or like that's your prediction, ever in Pokemon. To me, that disregards the next 5, 10, 15 years of what Pokemon's going to come out with, including potential stuff, including different full arts, all sorts of.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. That is definitely a possibility.
Everyone said that about Hidden Fates, and now Hidden Fates, no one ever talks about it anymore. It's just a near example. Before that, people were obsessed with the XY full arts, and there's still good value in them, but you don't hear as many. People have moved on to people move on to things. So that's just the point.
Sure.
I think we've gone back and forth. I think that do you anything else you want to add to that? Because it's kind of just be like we agree to disagree on sort of the demand side, that you just feel so confident on the demand side that you're willing to sort of take the bet. And for me, I'm much less confident about demand and about people's opinions in the short run than you are.
That makes sense. Yeah.
And so for anyone doing like an investment analysis, it's not about neither of us have a crystal ball. It's how much weight we're putting on the demand side versus the supply side. Does that make sense?
That is true.
I'm going to put more weight on the supply side than a lot of people do. And that's been extremely successful for me because I don't get crushed by 70% retraces because that happens in demand. That doesn't happen on supply. Does that make sense? So just for people, the people to throw that out and to think about.
Yeah.
Demand can really shift down. Supply is going to remain stable. So if demand is already low on something, it could go even lower, but maybe it has room to go up. Do alt arts have much room to go up right now with this current amount of people, or are they going to need more and more people? Now, they still might, because not everyone is open then. Not everyone
I see what you're saying.
I would argue what you're seeing on Whatnot is there's still a ton of people who have not completed their binders. There's still a ton of people who have not opened them all. And there's still a ton of people who want them in this current environment.
So you're saying that the supply is adequate for the demand, basically?
I don't know.
Right. And that obviously demand, the number of people that desire them would have to go up over time in order for there to be an inadequate amount of supply to satisfy the demand and then the value to go up. Yeah, I could definitely see that and agree with that. I just, some of them are really nice looking.
Yeah, that's fine.
I don't know what the prices were like for like the specific chase cards, but when Pokemon was nearly dead in the early, mid, late 2000s, like 2003 to 2010, Jungle, Fossil, Rocket, those booster packs were selling for like $1 a piece.
They were worthless.
So like imagine 2025, whatever drastic change happens to the world, 95% of Pokemon collectors just get out of it, as they did in 2001 to 2005 era. What happens to the boxes? What happens to these chase cards? It would be disappointing to many people. It would be disappointing to me, loving this franchise so much. Like, yeah. I don't intend to leave it ever again, but I don't know where life is going to take me. Like, this is a short period in time right now. But it's fascinating to think about because 9.1 billion cards were printed last year. And if Pokemon really isn't popular 5 years from now, for whatever reason, that's a lot of cards that no one wants. I have trouble thinking of a scenario how it would die so quick, but it did in 99 to 2000 to the mid 2000s. I mean, that was back middle school or elementary school to middle school days when it was Pokemon cards and then it was Pogs and then it was Crazy Bones and then it was Tech Decks. I don't know how Pokemon dies like that again, and maybe it can't, but it's interesting to think about.
So we mentioned CD promos a couple times. We actually figured this out earlier today. We were in Oak's Discord, and we were in the chat. And I think basic, um, retro. Actually, we were talking about the good value right now on buying, sourcing sealed CD promos and grading them and flipping them and such. But I think Basic's actually the one who looked up the pop reports, and an interesting thing came up, and that is that the Mew and the Mewtwo, so for those that don't know out there, the pack of CD promos comes with the big three. It comes with a Mew, a Mewtwo, Super Energy Retrieval, the Police Trade card, the Snorlax, the Porygon, and the Arcanine. The Mew and the Mewtwo being the artworks of the vending series, I believe, the same artworks. One's glossy, one's not. The pop report on them. So if you look at the pop report on all of the CD promos, the actual, like, for instance, the Charizard and the Venusaur have a total graded pop of like 12,000, 9,000, right? The total graded pop on the Mewtwo and the Mew. The Mewtwo is 570 and the Mew is 700. The total graded pop. The total number, the 10 to 9 ratio is like 230 to 50. And then we looked up the recent sale or the last sold on a 10, and it was like $2,000. So like we were trying to figure out, why is no one grading these? We were theorizing, like, is it the way that they're inserted into the stack? Are they hard to grade? Then somebody looked up a Leonhardt video. They're not at the beginning and the end of the stack, so that's probably not it. But like, if the PSA 10, like if the PSA 10 prices on these are, and it holds. I mean, if people are out there trying to collect a whole set of these, no one's grading these two cards apparently, and no one could really figure out why. But I thought that was really interesting. That was like a little pop anomaly that we just happenstanced across. Like, the pop on the other hollows is graded through the roof, but it doesn't look like anyone ever really graded. And Mew and Mewtwo are pretty popular Pokemon, so we just thought that was interesting. I mean, the 10 to 9 ratio it's pretty normal. It doesn't look like they're harder to get any more hard to get 10s than anything else. They look pretty good ratio, but no one's sending them in for some reason, and I couldn't figure out why. Just thought that was interesting.
Yeah. There's all sorts of that's the word, right? Interesting. And what we mean by that is irrational and strange. Or what we really mean often is like opportunity to probably make money.
Yeah, because last I knew those CDs were going for like 500, right?
About that, yeah.
I picked up a couple around 500. I haven't looked recently. Years ago, I bought like 6 or 8 of them, cracked them all. I don't remember off the top of my head. I think I might have only graded the Charizard, Venusaur, and Blastoise, because for anyone who doesn't know, the origin of those was Home Shopping Network special. Gary teamed up with somebody in Japan, and maybe eBirdman was involved in that as well. I think they did 5,000 copies of each or something like that, and they sold them off through Home Shopping Network. They probably had Ken Golden on the call telling how it was the best investment opportunity ever.
I think that they're I was talking about this with Nick, I think, in the Discord, a few weeks back, but I think sometimes we, as people who have more comfort with the different places you can buy, the different places you can sell, sort of how to arbitrage, and then also how to take raw stuff, open it up, grade it, and have some sort of comfort with that. The vast majority of people don't. And so they're willing to pay 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, $80 premiums to get it already graded for their collection. Because even if they were told, if you buy this sealed thing and grade it yourself, you could save $30, they wouldn't. Because they wouldn't feel comfortable buying it off of Bai, or using a middleman service through Japanese. They don't know how to grade stuff. They don't know. So I think that for us, you can build a whole business on $20, on $30. I mean, if you do it at scale, if you do 10,000 of those, right? I mean, that can be your whole income. For other people, it's one card at $30 that they're spending $30 extra for. So it's a very different. So understanding that mindset and seeing how that's very reasonable from a consumer perspective of someone just collecting it and wanting it and willing to, it's the same reason why people pay $140 at their LGS for a booster box, or people pay, for the convenience factor, the comfort factor, or getting it in person, or whatever it is, right?
Is there a way that we can type back to chat? I can't find a way to actually type in chat in this.
You have to pull it up on your phone or something.
Oh.
You can't.
You have to go to the YouTube channel.
Oh, okay. I got you. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and I think, just to reiterate something about the alt arts, and then before closing the discussion, is I am not. I really like the alt arts subjectively. I just think collectively people are too bullish. So I seem very bearish on them when I actually think that I'm neutral and in the middle, which is the exact way I felt, so I, and people are going to take of that what they will, but I'm not here saying that they're doomed. I'm here saying that there's too much risk and people are underestimating the risk. So I hope people can understand the nuance, and you might still disagree that I think they're too risky, right? We don't have to go back through it.
Sure.
To hear that there's so many good options, there's so many things to buy in other markets that for me, like, there's just a lot of risk in something like that right now. But if you own some out there and you really like them and you really want to buy them, I'm not here telling you or being able to predict the future that they won't have really high demand. I really have no idea. It's just that if you are in the chat saying they're definitely going to have really high demand 100% and all these types of things, I would respond, you're being irrational. And you could disagree with me and say, nope, I'm rational and I'm right. But I would say that you're overconfident. Now, it would also be overconfident to say they're definitely not going to have high demand, or they're definitely people are going to forget them like Hidden Fates, or move on beyond them and not want to open them. Like, that would also be like that. If I was saying that would be sort of the opposite of your viewpoint, which is not echoes.
Right.
Some people in the chat, this sort of like very sort of like, it's the guarantee sort of attitude that we try to like talk against, rather than sort of being like, somewhere in the middle, but I'm more bullish, so I'm going to bet on them. That to me is a reasonable, I don't think you're being unreasonable, Echo. I think you and I just disagree, and you should bet on them because you believe in the demand, if that makes sense. As long as you're aware,
I think the other,
and why you're doing it.
Absolutely, for sure.
Everyone out there,
I think for everyone out there too, Jake says this all the time too, and I definitely agree. Bet on what you like too, because at the end of the day, if you're holding bags, bless you. Like, I have a lot of shinings from Neo Destiny, and if those went to zero, I wouldn't care because I like them. Like, if I picked up a bunch of alt arts because I thought they might go up, and I'm left holding certain ones, I wouldn't mind because I like them. Now, if I bet on something because everyone tells me to, and I don't like them, then I'm going to be a lot more moody of a person because, like, I got a bunch of stuff I don't like and I can't do anything with it.
Yeah. I want to put this up to say, to be fair, there is risk in everything. So I want to make 2 points that I wanted to maybe do. I don't really like making short videos anymore. I apologize, because people probably want me to make them. But a video that I want to make, I'll basically just say now, which is that investing takes a lot of skill. and identifying that not everything has equal risk is a big part of the skill of investing. And so and I'm not saying, Dave, I'm picking on your comment a little bit here. I'm not saying that this is what you're saying at all here. So don't take it that way. But I see people with the sort of attitude of like, nobody knows anything, everything is equal, everyone is wrong, the whole world's crap, and we're all doomed. Like, like, no. And there are things that are better strategies and worse strategies. Now, that doesn't mean I'm going to use the better strategy and anyone out there is going to use the worst strategy. But even having the mindset of like everything is equal, and there aren't some things that are riskier than others, and markets are just irrational and no one has any skill or ability, that isn't a good, like, that you're sort of giving up the game before you've started. And there's a reason why certain people do well over long periods of time in any sort of market that they really understand. And it's because they have systems, they have skills, they know how to operate. And that isn't just from an investor perspective. It can also be from a business, from selling on whatnot, right? There's a skill set, there's a market knowledge, there's an understanding there that allows you to differentiate risk levels. And the other side of risk levels is reward levels, right? So you can take much bigger risks on items that you think you're going to make more on, right? It's at the end of the day, it's a math problem. And then if you really want to get technical about it, you're doing a discount rate, with the idea. And it kind of goes to Dave Inman's point here that, if we think we can make 6 to 8%, well, that's not really what he's saying here, but sorry. But if you think, I didn't read the end, he's actually talking about, that inflation's a danger. You're only losing 6 to 8% if you keep it all in dollars. But the point I was going to make was that, if you think that you can make money has a time value, right, of 6 to 8%. Okay. So when you are investing in something, that might be high. Maybe more realistic is like a 4% after inflation, or if you really want to be conservative, even making 2 to 4% on your money a year might feel adequate above inflation or something like that. But when you're assessing things, if you really want to be technical about it and smart about it, you need to be using that as sort of a discount rate when you're mathematically assessing your NPV. How much money you're expecting to make over a period of time, and then you're discounting each sort of year, at 2 to 3%, and then you're thinking about the amount of risk versus the reward. So once you've done all of that analysis, and I know that the vast majority of people have never done that in the Pokemon market, have never done that with Pokemon cards. Frankly, it's really very difficult because we don't have hard and firm predictable numbers to deal with. But the concepts are really important when you're truly thinking about allocating your resources and money into things. So hopefully that was clear enough. Dan, you want to clean any of that up?
The sentiment I think you're speaking against, and I made a video on this, maybe a couple videos where I talked about this. Like, he's very public about it, so I'll just talk about someone specifically, the Dogecoin millionaire. When he had Dogecoin at 40 cents or whatever at peaked, I remember hearing a statement, whether it was on Graham Stephan's channel or wherever it was. I actually met him in Vegas briefly. The stock market is just like a casino, and I know that Dogecoin is kind of is too. So I'm gonna do it here. Kind of speaking to that, there's risk everywhere, so I'm just gonna go to this crazy place because it's as crazy as everywhere else. Profit producing companies, profit generating productive assets are a different class entirely and have a historical proof and basis for what they've done. And I've mentioned it many times before. Pokemon can cease to exist 25 years from now, and the world can exist as we know it. The S&P 500 going to zero, the world will have fundamentally changed, and life as we know it will have ceased to exist. That's just a fundamental objective fact. That I think that's kind of on topic, maybe a little ranty, but yeah. So just saying it a different way, risk in different things are at different levels, and you should be accounting for that.
I remember the one live you guys did where you were talking about intrinsic versus extrinsic value, and I was right there with you on that one, Dan. It makes complete sense. Pokemon has no intrinsic value; it's the cardboard it's printed on, versus an SP 500 company with their capital and their actual physical holdings. A lot of Pokemon is based on demand. It's based off of the desirability, but so is a Mona Lisa.
Yeah, it doesn't make it bad. It doesn't make it
Right.
worthless. But like for you to make money on a card, on a box, you need someone willing to pay more for it. It's not people. It's like the S&P 500 is the cumulative productive output of tens of millions of human beings around the world, and it's the market cap of like $20 trillion or whatever it is, 30 trillion. Fundamentally different investment classes, different risk profiles.
For sure. Yeah. I I think that this game and this hobby of ours for a very long time was never focused around people making money in the long term off of it. People collected what they liked, and then it went up over time, inevitably. I think that this is, I think it's a lot betting on Pokemon as a company, as a franchise, sticking around. Let's assume that. Let's assume that Pokemon doesn't just go away, which could happen. But assuming it doesn't, I mean, there's definitely been times in the hobby that we were all sure that, oh shit, Nintendo's going to kill the game. Like it's gone, it's done. Might as well just stop buying Pokemon cards because you're not going to be able to use them. They're going to be worthless. But assuming that doesn't happen, I don't see a problem with a good way of collecting and investing. Just like Basic does it very well for your average collector. Basic does it. He buys what he likes. He has his collection goals and he buys what he likes. And I would be willing to bet that, his collection is valued now more than it was when he was acquiring them. He's very smart with his purchases, but he is a true diehard collector. He he doesn't do this as a business. It's not a flipping business. It's not an investment business for him. He buys what he likes, and he has his wall, he has his shelves, he has his stuff, and he picks choice pieces to add to his collection. And a lot of the people that I grew up with, they did that. A lot of collectors were also players. So yeah, you had a lot of cards that you played with, but a lot of people filled their binders out with stuff they liked simply because they liked it. And it inevitably went up over time because there was less of it and more people liked it. And I just think that if people just get what they like in general, they're going to do all right long term. If you just get what you like, unless we're talking like PSA 10 prices here, like, yeah, you got to monitor that stuff. I'm talking about raw cards again. If you pick up good mint to near mint raw cards, you set binder complete your collections, and you hold them long term. You don't get rid of them, and then you go to grade. You look at the pop reports later on. You grade your own cards. You don't try and buy graded cards. You grade your own collection long term. I think you'll be all right. I just think you'll be all right that way. That's what I did. You know, I I collected cards because I liked them. You know, one copy wasn't good enough. I wanted 5 copies of something because I liked it, or it was playable and I liked it, or whatever, a combination of that. You know, typically the stuff that I liked, apparently other people like too. I mean, Team Rocket Returns is a fantastic set. I don't know what to tell you. Um, but Evolving Skies is probably going to be a cool set, 10 years from now. So if you like Evolving Skies, you want to go open you want to waste $2,000, go open 3 cases of Evolving Skies, pull some Rayquaza alt arts. They're probably going to be all right 10 years from now if you want to go grade them. I don't know. That's just my prediction.
Just picking out some comments throughout chat.
Old card shop. The real collectors collect PSA 1s. Nice. It collects live streams.
Question for you, Dan.
Yeah, I did see those. I don't think they posted them with a price. I think it was like DM us your offer, which I always think if you're initiating a transaction, you need to be the one to bring a price to the table. Like, don't say I want to buy this card with no price attached or conditions or whatever. Um, and don't say like, hey, I have this thing for sale. DM me. There's a funny meme I saw somewhere, like at a restaurant. A waiter comes to the table. "Oh, how much is the steak tonight?" Or like, DM me for price. Like, what is it? You're selling something. Just tell me what it costs, and then we can go from there.
It's taboo. Most of the Facebook trading groups won't even let you post a post without a price posting. It's pretty taboo.
The odds for a successful transaction being completed just go down significantly. I think when you have something that rare, it's probably more likely that something's going to happen. But I mean, we just had a recent sale of a set of 3 at 480. So I mean, if they want to ask $1 million or best offer, like I think asking 5 million or best offer is better than just saying like DM for details. Or I just don't like it. But yeah, I think Peak That Chew was trying to get us to talk about the creatures deck. I think he wanted to hear your take on it. Echo. I think both Jake and I have talked about it a little bit.
Yeah, we were talking about the creatures deck a little bit in chat today. It's funny because then he messed because then Magi threw one up. We were just talking about it, and I was like, damn, what a fantastic item. And then we were all like, oh, but I think you probably missed your chance to get one. And then like 2 hours later, Magi threw one up. It's like he was like, oh, here's your shot. And I was like, yeah, but I don't have 60K or I would. Because they're fan. I love it. I want that Chansey. I want the Chansey. I want the proto beta Chansey drawing. I just think that is the coolest thing ever. I think it's up there with Proto Blastoise. Like, I love that type of stuff. I think the creature deck's awesome. How many of them were made?
I think there's a few hundred is kind of the guess based on how many employees. I don't know if that's publicized, like the exact number anywhere, but the numbers I've heard are 200 to 400 maybe.
That's a cool piece of history to have. That is a cool ass piece of history to have. I'm sorry. If I was a real like that's going in the museum. Right, Jake? That's going in the museum.
I think it's cool. The market just thinks it's cooler than I do substantially.
Me too.
And that's fine. Like, I think it's great that the market is so broad and diverse that some people can value that thing $50,000 so that if I ever like happen upon one, I can sell it and I can buy something that I value more for $50,000. Sure. Like it's great that someone can get their Torchic PSA 10 Gold Star and I can get my full art Pikachu and someone can get their creatures deck all for the same price. Because
you hit a good point just there.
Yeah, I think it's great.
Everyone, we're not all going to agree on what the best things are because everyone likes something different. You know what I mean? Everyone likes something different. My personal chases are not your personal chases, but I think it is a good item with the rarity built in and the history of the item.
Yeah, it's definitely cool. Like, there's almost no Pokemon card that I would just say, that is a terrible thing. I don't ever want that at any price. It disgusts me. There are just certain things like the creatures deck. Unless it was for pure flip, unless an opportunity came to me, I personally don't value that anywhere near like 5 figures and up. And it's going well into the 5 figures as far as I understand. And that's fine.
Yeah.
It's great. It's great that the hobby is so strong that something like that can command such a price.
Yeah, I would never feel confident in something brand new like that as any sort of like investment unless I felt like it was way under the mark, like under what it should be. And that would be like no one talking about it, people saying it doesn't look good, people saying it's not cool. Like I would need, and to go to sort of Cameron's point, kind of summarizing my general investment strategy, like I need people to be like, you know, I want to listen to the market and then think they're way too bearish on something. I don't want to listen to the market and say they really love this. And then I have to say, well, do they love it enough? They should love it even more. that's a hard thing, particularly on a brand new item that hasn't had the chance to age. Whereas if you have items that are already 15, 20 years old, other trophy cards that are more established in sort of the the mind of the trophy collectors in the hobby as valuable. It doesn't mean that they are always going to stay there, but there's more price history, inertia. Those are much safer buys. So that hopefully that helps people make it actionable for people. And I think, in any market that I'm in, that's sort of how I try to operate as much as possible. But to Dan's point, if I could buy it under market and then flip it immediately at market, that's the only way I would ever touch those in this current environment. And that's exactly what Dan does most of the time. Is he's aware, like we're aware of like the prices of almost like we try to be aware of as much as we possibly can, so that when we're seeing auctions all day, we can buy the below value ones and then try to flip them at market. But part of that is factoring in liquidity. Those would be items that might be a little scary to us if we didn't have a buyer lined up or we didn't feel confident that we could liquidate it quickly. So that would be the other, like, to make it actionable for people, that would be the other factor. Whereas alt art, to Joe's point, that I would be very comfortable buying at, a decent amount under market and selling it at market because I'm seeing it's quite liquid. Particularly if it's the Umbreon, or something like that. Something that I feel like is moving a lot.
Another good example of something that's liquid, that's going in your wheelhouse and easier to move. In the last Heritage auction, there were four lots that I was actually eyeing and wanted to bid on, wanted to pull the trigger. I've yet to pull a trigger like Dan does and buy a lot for sole purpose of reselling them individually, but I was really eyeing up that complete graded Legendary Collection reverse hollow set that was out there.
Mm-hmm.
Like that seemed value. That seemed, and so there was a Skyridge set. There was a Aquapolis.
The Skyridge had the value. That's the one I
man, and I didn't have the time to like pop out the Excel chart and like go look up prices for every card. But if you have the time to do that, guys, there's definitely stuff out there.
Conservatively, it was like $9,000. It probably was more like $12,000. But in this market, I would have put it at $9,000. And there would have been a few big pieces that I could have sold immediately. It was a great lot. I tried to get it for like 5,000, low 5,000, and I think it went like mid 5,000. And I was just like, I'm just going to let it go in this environment. And I'm just very bullish on some other stuff and some other hobbies. So my capital is going other places right now. But and I'm still buying in Pokemon. I just bought 20 or 30 cards recently. So there's a lot of opportunities. So I had to pass that one up. But that was really good. Where some of the other ones were going like at market or close to market. So it's very some of the Gold Stars, some of the even some of the lots, like the Skyridge lot and the Aquapolis and the Expedition lots went pretty high or pretty close to the full value. People don't really seem to have difficulty valuing large lots of reverse hollows. Why I love reverse hollows is because every card has value, whereas that lot's actually better than like the Expedition hollow lot and the Aquapolis hollow, even though those went for more. And it's because all of the other cards are junk because they're all like CGC 8 common and uncommons. But if you have CGC 8 and 9 common and uncommon reverse hollows, you're talking $25, $20 a card probably there. That's a lot of cards, 140 cards. I mean, it really adds up in value. So that's the type of stuff that I like to look for. And I bought a bunch of base first edition complete sets. I know Dan bought one. I bought a number of them also, broke them down, made money. Very sort of similar thing. Base set first edition, again, the only WotC set, unless you're talking really high grade, like 10s and 9s, but it's the only WotC set that if you have like 7s and 6s, particularly this was during more of the boom period, that it made sense to buy those, then break them down, sell the individual cards. Every card had value. People don't know how to add up all that value, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, people just need to stop selling things as lots. There is never a premium putting things together. And I say that as someone who profits from buying ill-advised lots and then just doing little work, flipping them, making money.
Although I will say it works best if you have a lot of big items and then a lot of garbage. So if you have a few big items and a lot of garbage, that tends to work decently because people correctly value the big items. And then I actually find, Dan, that they can overvalue just the bulk of graded slabs if they're really bad slabs. But it works the exact opposite for a reverse hollow, like Skyrage set, for a legendary collection reverse set, where the value is dispersed through the entire set, including in all of like the lesser cards that people are undervaluing. So that just a little piece out there that I've found.
If you try to like frame it in a semi sleazy way, maybe there's ways where you can,
But I don't even think you have to frame it that way. I think you show the lot, and people psychologically, they see it's like, wow, it's an entire graded set, even though like all the grades are 5s of like commons and uncommons, and they're like worse than like $1 near mint that you could buy. It's like,
yeah.
Whereas if you try to sell that one single card, you'd be selling it at like $4. Well, you might be selling it at like $50. I don't know how you.
Dude, I was told today that apparently my staff Worlds 04 card is very valuable. I had no idea, other than it was like, I mean, I knew it was like valuable, but not like Pete keeps goating me in chat because he wants it, but like I didn't know, like it was more about, I mean,
very valuable.
I almost bought one. I almost traded for one at Collecticon. There was one actually.
What were they asking?
They didn't know how much it was worth, so they threw out, I think, 13,000, and I said, no, but I'd be interested at 6, around 6, and then we ended up getting to 9 to 8,000 in trade, mostly trade, and then I almost did it and decided against it because whatever.
There you go, Joe. There's some reference. You're working with a pretty decent card.
Yeah, Pete told me that Hurt Lager was offering like 20 to somebody for one, and I was like, okay, I didn't. I mean, I figured it was a couple thousand, like it was just a staff card, but I didn't know it was more rare than the other ones. I didn't know the pop of that card and how hard that one was in particular to get in relation to the other ones. I didn't know the history of that, so I thought that was interesting today. Apparently, if you guys out there don't know, the staff 04 is apparently harder to get. I did not know this.
In my opinion, it's the most overvalued card of the entire. Sorry, Joe.
I don't care. I don't care. It's in my binder.
Personally, it's a phenomenal card, and I do think that card should be worth certainly more than every other staff card, 100%. But I think staffs are overvalued, and I'm just, but they're not just my subject. Like I have reasons for that. I think we have much less of an idea of how many of those staff cards are out there. I hear varying amounts. I hear sometimes that staff members would get 5 cards.
So I can speak to that because I staffed a lot of those events. That's how I have them. So staff members got 1 per event you staffed. So for instance, at Worlds 04, right? If you staffed the main event, you got 1. But if you staffed one of the side events, you got 1 too.
So I've heard stories, Joe, that at the end of tournaments, they would go around handing 5, 6, 7 at a time out to people who were some of the higher ups or did the most or were the more important stuff from people. Maybe not at 2004, like that could have been.
They definitely did that at Nationals. That I definitely know because that's how I got a bunch of mine. I did. If that happened, I didn't see that. It could very well have happened at Worlds. I didn't. I was not that lucky. But yeah, I do know at lower staff events, they definitely did have a lot of them to hand around. So, for what it's worth.
Yeah. So I just think that I mean, and Charlie might tell you, Pikachu, how many he thinks there are from that first event. He might have some idea. I talked stamps a little bit with Charlie at Collecticon. So it was definitely interesting to get his perspective on prices. We disagree on the value of some of them.
It's funny to think that like you got like 6 of the top whaley nerds in the hobby just sitting around arguing. This one's 10,000. No, that one's 12,000. It's like people out there like can't afford a car. Like, we're just over here talking about how much cardboard's worth.
It does blow my mind every day. Like, I don't know anyone in my real life that buys anything like this. Like, talking about a $50 slab, like that's a lot of money. A lot of people don't carry that in their wallet. A lot of
It
people
is.
don't have that money.
It's a lot.
Unless it's Friday and they just got their paycheck, then they might have it. But then by the weekend, they've gone out to the bar, they've gone to a dinner, and it's gone until next Friday.
So I grew up very poor, and having to this is the first business I've ever run. I turning what I'm doing into an actual business. Um, I've gotten to the point where the only way I'm able to concept like you have to have a comfort level dealing in certain high end, higher end items, and it takes a while if you're not used to it. Like I had to start dropping a zero off of things and just thinking of things in terms of units instead of terms of money, because I'm just, and I think a lot of people are probably the same way, just not comfortable with the way we our upbringing, just spending that much money on something. Like, I know this is a lot of your bread and butter, Dan, and you do spend large amounts to make large amounts. But that's definitely something that if you want to scale up in our hobby, you have to get used to doing. You have to get used to being able to handle larger items. Um, it helps if you have somebody like a collector in your family, like like a father figure who dealt with sports cards, because obviously they're much larger items than Pokemon cards. But yeah, I can see that as being a roadblock for a lot of people. You might never jump that hurdle if you can't come to terms with dealing with, like, okay, this is a $10,000 card, and in order to make 3,000 on it, I might have to spend $10,000 to make $3,000. Like, that's that's a lot of money for a lot of people. A lot of people, I don't feel, and it might be holding myself back too. I don't feel comfortable spending that much money on a card. I just don't. I'd rather play in the lower end because I feel I just don't, I feel more comfortable that way. It's hard. It's
Mhm.
hard.
Yeah.
Well, there certainly can be, and for the most part, is a lot less risk. I mean, you have a much bigger buyer pool. You know, um, flipping and dealing in trophies, particularly really high end ones that don't have a lot of price history and price data, can be certainly extremely risky. And even for people who are like obsessive about these markets, like Dan and Rusty trying to value those cards correctly, right? I mean, and then who either one of them could have gone 10 to 20,000 over or under what if they put it on auction it would have gone for, either direction. And so it's just that's the nature of those markets, you know. And you can't, one auction could go, I know the number 3, what did it sell for, 32 or something in the recent one?
32.4,
Me
yeah.
too.
Yeah, but it's possible that there are some people who didn't know about that one that would have bid it higher, so um it's just the nature of these auctions, and rich people are busy probably. So, they might.
Yeah,
Yeah.
when that 3 went up, my mind where it went to, like, this card can do anywhere between 25 and 125 is like the range that I put it. The half art number 2 did 110. That was like in the peak mania.
That was
But the first one that came up did 110. If a full art went a month after that, it probably, like, I probably should have set my number 4 the month after that half art went for 110, because then the next half art went for 60. And so when people spend a year watching a half art go, people that are engaged enough go from 110 to 60 to 50
Yeah.
to 30, that probably tempered the
I think it's a little awkward to buy a number 3 alone also. It's a lot of money. It's one thing when you buy like a $500 number 3 and you know that you'll be able to you'll get the 2 and the 1 for 500. But it's like if I only have $30,000, I'm probably not buying just that card. Like, I probably need the money to have a plan to accumulate all of them as a collector, rather than just owning the number 3 of that. Now, at that price though, that's a good price. Like, that price, I mean, I was one of the highest bidders on that card. and I didn't really want it that much, you know. But because I just like for me, Dan, 25,000 felt like the price like I would pay and felt like a really good price for that card. 32 doesn't seem terrible. It's a little bit over what I thought was like I had the exact same bottom in my mind of 25K. I never would have expected 100K on that, but
And
yeah,
obviously it would have surprised me, but not as much as like 15,000 would have. 15,000 would have surprised me more than 100. They both would have been
really
very surprising.
Well, it would have surprised me because I bid 25, so
well,
I was expecting it to go over 15.
15, I would have won it. I think I only bid like 6 early, but then it went above where I wanted to bid.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, 32.4 on that, depending on what you're relating it to. 32.4 compared to the TMB number 2 at 50 is like too much. That card went for too much relative to the TMB. Relative to other things, though, I think it was a very great value.
Yeah.
Interested to see if we find out who picked it up.
I think the TMB at 42 was good. Those are probably the two. I think some of the what else did I think was decent? The victory rings dropped quite a bit, right? What was that at its height?
Pika ring hit. The Mew Orb did 60 at one point. I want to say Pika ring was right there with it, 50 plus.
60. And now what? They're 20 to 30, somewhere in there.
A Pika ring. Didn't Scott just do a Pika ring for 15?
Oh, did
I was going to say the teens. I thought one of them hit the teens recently. Yeah.
I think Scott just had one that ended Sunday night. Let me double check.
Yeah, that's a good card. That's a pretty good card. I mean, it's not a good card. It's not nearly on the level of those other ones, but again, it's subjective. It does have Pikachu in it.
Yeah.
But what are there, like 180 of those or 150 of those or something like that?
Yeah, so last night a Pika ring did 15,701. And
yeah,
I bid on it. I didn't win it, but I was in the vicinity.
Yeah, I'd rather win that full art for 25 than win that for 15 personally. So
yeah, like I feel like to enter that card, the Mew Orb, the Miracle Diamond, a lot of those are in the same tier-ish. I want to be like high 4 figures, extremely low 5 figures, maybe. But again, it's all just relative. It's how people individually value them.
Yeah, instead I bought like 7 $13 slabs or something. That's more of the market that I tend to buy these days.
Yeah,
I'm buying massive amounts of those, and then and I'm buying a lot of like $20, $30 raw cards from other hobbies. That's mainly I haven't made a purchase over $200 in like 3 or 4 months. I think, even though I bid on these items, I lose them all. Though.
I bought a few boxes recently, and it's a little scary because like when you get what feels like a really good deal on something, you think like, in 2 months, is this still going to have felt like a good deal, or are we just going to find a new bottom for these, a new floor, short-term temporary floor? Like I want a fossil box at 9. I've been trying to buy one of those at 10 for like just to open, sell heavies, grade some lights, sell some light art sets. I mean, I'm not looking to make
under $1,000. It feels too risky to me, Dan. The margins you make on those, I don't know.
It probably is one of my less intelligent plays.
You like it though.
I like opening sealed product. I like doing my part. So
like
someone should have opened that in the past 23 years. Since no one else did, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do my part.
Yeah. I also just feel like, I don't know. I feel like the money on those is the streamers who can still break them and sell them to their audience right now at like 14, 15K.
Oh yeah.
Versus like what you do.
You know what scares me? I won that box at 9. If I were someone else, there are people out there that like, I don't know how certain people aren't just scooping at like 10, but it's probably because they already bought enough at 10 and they're probably set for the next year or two. And they're going to wait to buy their next wave when it's 6 again or 5 again, or who knows? Like we've talked about how we think there's 4 figures of these boxes out there. I mean, there's almost certainly over 1,000 Fossil First Edition boxes out there. So having just bought one at 9,000, I'm gonna be pretty quick with it. I'm gonna try to be.
Yeah, I think personally, I think we're closer. Like with the falls we've already seen, I don't think. I would be surprised personally to see just psychologically speaking on stuff like that because there are less of them now than there were. Objectively, a lot have been opened. It would just be hard to imagine them going lower than 2019 prices, those specifically.
But 2019 prices were
2020. What were they, like 5,000, 4,000? I feel like by the time it was 2019, 2020, it was already 5, 6. They were at 2, back in maybe 2017.
I opened so many of them at like 500. So in my mind, it was like
Steel,
500 for so
steel
long.
product is not my obsession. Graded slabs and rock cards are my obsession. So
yeah, I don't even know what those were in 2019 because I had been done for a few years at least.
Yeah, that's my memory. But again, it depends the time because things were already ticking up in 2019, and then the start of 2020, like January, they were already ticking up quite a bit, and then into that summer, they were ticking up even more, and then Logan Paul and it 5x from there or whatever. But there was already quite a bit of movement over a 2-year period.
Yeah.
I would say 2016, 2017, sort of slightly down. 2018, kind of flat. And then 2019, 2020, kind of slightly up into, quite a bit up into 2020.
What would you guys' prediction be for the next, if you had to throw it in a year or two, within the year or two range, when do you think we're going to start to turn?
It's going to be so, I think it's going to be so correlated to broader markets. If we continue down into a recession feels almost inevitable. I think early July, we're going to get that. Did we have 2 consecutive quarters of contracting GDP for like the technical definition of it? It feels like we're going to get that. It feels fairly inevitable. But like if we continue into a year plus of that, if we continue into a deep recession, lots of layoffs, higher unemployment, this whole game that they're playing with raising the rates to temper inflation, I think it's way more correlated to broader markets than many people realize, or maybe most people do. I don't know if I have a good gauge on that. So,
yeah. And I think people underestimate the impact on the companies that are helping the space grow. So the companies having money and being aggressive and advertising and getting more people in is huge. Also, the influencers doing that. Also, the content creators. Content creators they're losing a lot of money right now. Ad revenues are going to go down on their channels. Less people are going to be watching. So they're going to have less incentive to continue, to pump it out. There's going to be more channels disappear. Like a lot of that stuff is going. There's so many negative impacts. There's the obvious ones, obviously, on the individual people buying the cards, but there's also the infrastructure. The businesses. But all that stuff does clear it out at some point for quite a bit of potential. The problem with collectibles is they're not as solid as like really strong companies that are going to make it through this. So I don't have the same sort of like huge confidence that I have in like some of the stocks that I have and some of the companies that I own a part of. But I have quite a lot of confidence. I would have guessed that if it wasn't for this recession stuff, that we were mostly at bottoms now. I think we basically got to a bottom in December personally, and that we might have trickled down, 10% more over a period of time, 10 to 20% more till we kind of stable. It probably would have looked a lot like 2017, 2018, 2019. But now with this sort of global situation, it's like a whole new ball. I feel like it throws it sort of out the window, and it's anyone's guess. But because Pokemon's already gotten hit quite a bit, it is possible that it really doesn't get hit that much harder. And it's possible that like inflation numbers get better quicker than people expect, that, the economy rebounds a bit quicker than we expect. And that a lot of the panic that we're seeing now in the global markets, and the negativity that's really starting to pile on right now, if you read articles, could be over the top. I wouldn't bet on that, but I wouldn't, I really don't know. So it's it's kind of a wait and see, but it's
Yeah.
What is real is what the Fed is doing right now, and the way the Fed has completely changed their tune over the last like 3 to 4 months. So, and clearly inflation has, So, we're in a very different situation. What we know is very different than what we knew 3 to 4 months ago. And so the market, the negativity is based on actual reality, some actual reality right now.
So maybe you can answer this too, because you sound like you obviously have a lot of knowledge on the subject. I have tangential knowledge on the subject. What would be good? So what would be good indicators in broader market, in broader society, how the interest rate relates to inflation? What would be some good preliminary indicators that we might be turning a corner? For instance, what would be good indicators that inflation is coming under control, or that the Fed may start to lower interest rates? Like, is there anything we can look for? Like anything in the news that we could, like, if we hear that, we could be like, oh, okay, well, we might be turning a corner now. That's a good sign. That's, like, that's other than Russia just giving up the war and gas prices and Europe getting back to normal. Like, other than that, like, is there anything like that? So I guess basically what I'm saying is that I don't have a full understanding of how interest rate relates to inflation. So I know what the Fed is doing, and I know obviously what the economy is doing. Um, but from an outside perspective, is there anything we can look for that might let us know that we're near the low, or it could get worse?
If we knew the answer to that, I mean, that would be like,
Well, what happened last time this
The
happened?
Fed will leak again to the New York Times that they're they're only gonna go 0.5 and not 0.75 again.
Well, let me ask you this then: what would it take for the Fed to reverse that and start to go and lower interest rates again? How does that? How historically have we moved from high interest rates to lower interest rates?
I don't know precisely what number they would need to see. I'm not following it that closely, but if inflation gets better, they will likely not be as aggressive, and they'll lower it back down, lower the
I think the
not
number they like to
not lower,
see,
but not increase it.
like 2 to 3% inflation is what historically we've seen, and kind of what they like to see. Inflation is good because we have that massive tens of trillions of dollars worth of debt, and you want a little bit of inflation to eat that away and make it be
Right,
semi-feasible
that makes
that it
sense.
could be paid off someday. But this is so deep into like macroeconomics that I'm not remotely an expert in. Because the reality is, you can go to 50 different people who do this full time, macroeconomics people who are professional writers for different publications or on the TV, and you'll get 50 different stories. So it's by no means an exact science. Kind of like in Pokemon. I mean, we all have our thoughts, and we all have different educations, different experiences, different situations that lead us to make our thoughts, and nobody's right all the time.
Yeah, that makes sense. I just hear us. I mean, it's obviously in the news all the time, and we're always talking about it now because it relates to our hobby. But I was just curious, like, if there's anything we could, like, what might, when the good times might be coming. um, you know.
Yeah, if I had to bet either way, I would think the next sub 2 years will continue to trend down, but that's a complete guess based on very little. It's that goes into the whole, again, earlier today I had a video go live, time in the market versus timing the market. When it comes to my traditional investments, I don't play around trying to move in and out, because there's 100+ years of data. I mean, Warren Buffett made a very famous bet with fund managers on just people trying to just beat broad indexes, the S&P 500. All these people that do this professionally, not all of them, the majority, greater than 50% of the people who do this professionally cannot beat the indexes that they try to beat. And I am nowhere near as qualified or experienced. So when it comes to like the broad stuff, I'm going to do it all passive, dollar cost average, all that good stuff. Cause I'm 32, and my risk tolerance is
As
high.
well.
My time horizon is high, 30 plus years, hopefully.
Right. Interesting. Chat's hilarious.
Yeah. Chat has been lively tonight. I'm enjoying it. Thanks
Yeah,
everyone for being here.
I had probably a 3-hour conversation last night with my dad about this topic and about, yeah, I don't know. We don't need to go to left field here about index funds and why. Yeah, I'm just gonna not. But yeah, I mean, I'm thinking of going into the field now. So that's my new thing is I'm actually going to be
That's cool.
probably taking a job as an analyst. And so I'm starting to take my understanding of this stuff more seriously. But my main focus has always been analyzing specific deals and specific companies, specific, not so much trying to predict global sort of changes in things or predict what are going to be the top 10 companies in the S&P 500. I mean, the problem with index funds is that you are going to be very heavily weighted right now in some companies that you may not want to be heavily weighted in because some tech companies are so large and because tech is so heavily weighted right now in the S&P 500, if you don't want to be very heavily weighted, whatever. It's sort of there are reasons to be in index funds. There are reasons to not be. There are reasons to have some index funds and then hedge against it with some other different types of things, But again, that's best left to you and your financial advisor, But to understand sort of, how to build a portfolio that makes sense for you.
In before Jake's all our financial advisors in like 5 years.
Yeah.
So I'm potentially interested in becoming a financial advisor, but I'm actually more interested in becoming an analyst and then doing my own deals. I'm not as interested in like a lot of being a financial advisor is like explaining it to people, like to your clients and making them feel comfortable and actually using like therapy skills to honestly to like
it's a very psychological thing.
Yeah, and just kind of emotionally comfortable and connect and explain, and it's really great, important, useful thing. But I'm more interested in like finding deals and I watched Warren Buffett's sort of my guy, as he is so many people's, but when Warren Buffett talks about this stuff, it just makes me so excited. I have the same sort of like intense obsession that he did. And I mean, my feeling about a lot of this stuff is that so much of it is about temperament and having an intense focus and obsession and being willing to actually like pour over data. And I mean, bringing it back to the Pokemon market for a second, like I'm a big believer in that in any market that you're in, like obsession, pouring over data, being extremely engaged and focused, like that those will be the successful people 9 times out of 10. The 10th person's very lucky and they'll probably lose it all because they'll keep gambling it more likely than not until they've lost it. So, luck, and now you can be good and lucky. That's great. and that's a big part of, Dan and I and you too, probably Echo, talk a lot about luck and the luck that was sort of involved in our Pokemon journey. But there's also an intense amount of obsession.
Warren Buffett talks a lot about luck too.
Yeah, focus. That's sort of the backbone, of putting yourself in position to, you're gonna get lucky on average. We could say a certain amount of times, right? Like, like if your luck is even, sometimes it's gonna go your way, sometimes it's not gonna go your way. But if you're constantly putting the odds in your favor, by your sort of hard work and analysis and understanding and rationality, you will outperform the market. You will outperform other people who are not doing that, over a long period of time. So.
One of my favorite quotes is, luck is the last dying wish of those who believe winning can happen by accident.
Yeah, I think it's one of these things of like, I think that I see it there was an E4 debate we had about like, were people lucky or not, or like, and some people just saying like there's no luck at all, or like seem to be very offended by the notion that like anything they've done is not through their own sort of like deserve or merit. And I don't exist in that sort of mental framework because I don't think we have that type of control. But if you're very focused and passionate and engaged, it'll increase your odds. Now, how much it will increase your odds, that's a long-term analysis that you will do of yourself. That's self-awareness, and that's something that you're always trying to analyze. Why is this working? How can I better refine it? How can I better do it? What's working for me? What are my strengths? What are my weaknesses? As Warren Buffett will talk about, he has an area of competency and he is extremely patient to hit pitches. He uses baseball analogy to hit a pitch within his small area of competency. So, and he uses the strike zone analogy. This is true for hitters. If hitters are extremely patient, you can hit like 400, a number of hitters could hit 400 in a tiny portion of their strike zone, and they hit 200, here and there. So, in the Pokemon market, it's understanding
the point he makes. There's no called strikes in finance. There's no called strikes in investing. You don't have to swing.
Interesting.
Yeah, like in baseball,
which isn't completely true. But
well, no, it's like in baseball. If you go up and don't ever swing, if you try to take 10 pitches without swinging, many, many times you will strike out. In investing, you won't. Like you can wait. You can get 2 strikes, and unless you swing, you can't strike out by not swinging.
Well, it depends on your leverage position and your clients and whatever, but theoretically, yes. I mean, if you're in Warren Buffett's position and if you're in Berkshire Hathaway's position, who already has amazing companies with excellent cash flow, he can stockpile hundreds of billions in cash and not spend them anywhere and just wait for the perfect pitch, which tends to be his style. Of course, there's a risk of doing that. There's a risk of, keeping things in cash and these types of things. But the point, the underlying point is important, which is waiting for that, understanding your competency. And that's sort of a lifelong sort of thing. And also there are people who I think are very interested in becoming very good at something. And then there are people who are more interested in appearing that they're good at something and being very good at that and being an influencer around that or something like that. So that's something that is really important for people who are very serious and passionate about anything, is that you have a mentor or you're learning from someone who's also obsessive and passionate and is like actually extremely engaged for real. And you're not, and you have to ask that for yourself. Although I do think that people who are obsessive tend to be attracted to other people who are obsessive, which is the good news. And a lot of people who are actually only very interested in superficial stuff tend to be attracted to the more superficial. And it's sort of so it's hard to get out of that cycle potentially, but it's part of why you have people who are successful at these types of things or whatever they do. It's why you got to find something that you can get ideally that you can get obsessive about, and have that sort of intense focus to succeed.
We got to get somebody down to Omaha for the next annual meeting. We've heard Buffett and Munger's takes on like crypto and different things. I want to hear their take on Pokemon investing.
Got to get someone to ask them questions.
So Warren, I'm thinking between a TMB number 2 or a Sealed Creatures deck or a Torchic Gold Star PSA 10.
What if he was?
Don't tell me Berkshire Class B stock, however many I can get for $50K. You got to pick one of these 3.
What if he was just like TMB?
Yeah. I mean, TMB is the right answer, so I would be proud of it.
I still want the damn English VS half deck. I want the English VS half deck.
I got to see some of that.
God. Why do they never come up? Like no one ever has them. I mean, I know they're rare, but like that I've not seen that item in forever.
Yeah, I mean, personally, I think that Warren is seems to be um, he does have a great mind for numbers, so he'll be able to recall things and be able to do math sort of on the spot, and he has a really good instinct, and he also has a good instinct for people. From what people say in terms of like management teams, which is important when you're buying companies, is trying to figure out, is this a legitimate management team who's giving me accurate, numbers and is going to run my business ethically, these types of things. But I actually think Warren's superpower is his intensity and focus and obsession. And if you actually ask his like family and his ex-wife who passed away, he was really not good. He could barely take care of himself. Um,
Wow.
and he, really stupid, for lack of a better word, at like random household things and like very common sense things. But I don't think it's because he was stupid. It was because he's so obsessively thinking and focused.
Sure, I've seen it with a lot of people. Yeah.
It's a little bit of that. And so just I think that when people say genius, they kind of mystify what is an actual thing, which is a combination of like being good with numbers, good judge of character, and then an incredibly obsessive mind and work ethic. And it's like, if you have those things, you'll be a very good investor, in my opinion. And if you don't, then it's like trying to figure out someone who can, and I bring that up because I think it's the same thing with Pokemon. I think it's whatever you do. So.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Lots of stuff in the chat. It's hard to even keep up. I mean, literally everyone's. It looks like a lot of. There's a lot of people in here, and a lot of people are talking.
Yeah, I mean, if there's any comments or anything that you guys want to read out or answer, if anyone has any questions or anything.
Swami.
Yeah, so we had that super chat that just said, Jake, is Pokemon going to 0? I'm terrified. So I don't know if I'm guessing this is a joke to some extent, or but to answer it somewhat seriously, 0, absolute 0, no.
Of the 9.1 billion cards printed last year, most of them will be 0 in 5 years.
I think Dan's just going to keep saying 9.1 billion like on every video. Just
people aren't talking about it enough, I don't think, honestly.
I don't think it's that useful. I think those cards are already almost all 0, and it is really just important to try to factor how many of those are alt arts, how many of those are Vs, how many of those are rainbow. Like any card that actually has any sort of significant, like any value now or will ever have any value. Personally, like I will take one step back and I will say, and Rusty graded a bunch of things. Like I saw there are people grading and selling, and today I looked and people were selling PSA 10 non-hollow rares from modern sets for like $20, $25, $30.
I have some too. Not as many as Rusty, but I have some too.
What's popular species?
Lugia from Darkness Ablaze. I've been selling the 9s.
The evolution. I mean, it's still
the evolutions are a good one. So I've been thinking
non-hollow rares.
Yeah, I've been thinking about doing
selling for 23, 10 selling for 40. It's good business.
Yeah,
great business. Low pops because no one else created them.
No one else is grading them. Yeah,
it's funny. Like you might be better off grading a modern reverse hollow.
That's what I was about to say.
Just
you are
any random like whatever. Like grade.
Yeah, and
2 reverse hollow complete sets from the newest set, and you'll be better off than the people who grade 50 Lugias from Darkness Ablaze, because like there'll be multiple people doing that. There'll be hundreds to thousands in the pop. If you grade that one-off random thing, you can probably get $50 for it in a PSA 10.
And you know what's funny about that is I do have people come into my streams and they will ask for the most off-the-wall species because they are collectors of those. I'll get people coming in. Do you have any Mimikyus? Do you have any Indeedies. I collect Indeedee. Like, there's people out there that collect things you don't think they collect. And yeah, I'm sure if you have like one of the only reverse hollows of that on eBay, it's going to sell because somebody's going to be looking for it.
Yeah, I'm a Charmander guy, and like I graded a handful of just reverse hollow Charmanders from black and white sets, from XY sets, Sun and Moon, Sword and Shield. I sold a Sword and Shield PSA 10. Was it a Darkness Ablaze maybe? PSA 10 reverse hollow Charmander, and I sold it for like $70. It was like a pop 1 or 2, ultra modern. No one else got it in before the price, and no one might grade it again for a long time. No one should really. I mean, unless you want to pay $10 to get it in that plastic. It really is like if you're there's such a thing as too niche, but like if you're only grading a handful of cards and you do it with like 500 different ones, it's a pretty solid play.
Yeah.
Because in my opinion, many people just
And
overvalue grading is what it comes down to a lot.
there's
Or
a
just maybe I undervalue my time. I guess a lot of people, it's just like, hey, I have $50. I want that card in 10 because I like that species, which is
yes.
reasonable if you have the money.
There are a lot of very fantastic artworks on very common cards in very popular species in a lot of the modern sets. And the reverse hollows of those, as I'm opening all these cards, it has occurred to me like there are reverse hollow evolutions, Snorlaxes, Lugias, um, Reggies, Azul, like the spirits, the Mewtwo. They made a common Mewtwo, and like a reverse. I'm thinking to myself, God, the reverse hollow of this graded, and Dan just confirmed it. I was thinking this, but I've yet never actually looked at it. But it makes sense if you grade these, especially like CGC for like $13. There's definitely margins and plays there. I'm assuming, yeah. Mimikyu is dope. Mimikyu is dope.
And again, it gets back to we had a whole live stream about our slabs bags, and I've tried to rein in I think my negativity there on some of that stream. Whether or not something is a bag is fully based on the intent. If you're buying that $70 reverse hollow Charmander in PSA 10 because you think it's going to gain 12% per year and outperform the S&P 500 30 years from now, and it's going to fund like a month of your retirement, that is 100% certified bag. If you buy it because you're like, I love Charmander and I want every Charmander in PSA 10, and
Yes.
I don't want to buy 20 copies at
Yes.
30 cents a piece to grade them myself and get 9s. If you're buying and you have the $70 to buy it, that is not a bag whatsoever. It's all about intent. And yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Jake very eloquently put this in one of his very long lives on his way back, or when he got back from Collecticon. And it was very interesting, and I think it painted it very well that there's always going to be two types of markets. There are the people that they just want the $50 card, and the capital, the profit to be made there is in the labor of doing the job. There's no difference in that than paying somebody to cut my grass. It's just there's time is valuable. People's time is valuable. They pay to not have to use their time. There's going to be more people that are going to want that $50 card than there are going to be people that want a $2,000 card, but they are two different things. One is an investment. One is not an investment. It's a one ownership. I think a good way of looking at this is how many owners is a card intended to have? Is a card intended to have one? It goes from source to final owner, or is the card meant to exchange hands a couple times? And I don't think that these low end $50 cards are really meant to exchange hands. I think if you're grading them with the intent that the person that's going to buy this is where it's going to land and end up, and that's where it should be, then yes, there's lots of opportunity in the lower end stuff. But they're not meant to be investments. It's not the same thing as a PSA 10 first edition, whatever, Lugia.
Yeah, because like I went out for dinner Friday night, and I spent a lot more on a steak than I could have having done it at home. But I consciously did that. It was a bet. Like if I thought I was at obviously it doesn't really apply because that was consumed and it's gone and it can't like increase in value over time. But I knew I was consciously spending 5 times more than I had to if I just bought the steak and did it at home.
You're
But
addicted, and it was a bag.
yeah,
Just like all these pack openers on Whatnot. No, I'm just kidding.
I had the money and I consciously made the decision to spend more money than I had to, and it was like an experience, whatever. It's all about like awareness and intent is what it comes down to.
Yeah, I think it should honestly. It's this should go like this should be really obvious and should go without saying, right? It's like this is a finance market channel. When we were talking in that video about bags, what we mean is just you're not gonna be able to sell it for as much as you bought it. Has nothing to do with like, and if you're cool with that and you're aware of that, or you don't even care, you never even thought about it for 1 second, why like who would have a problem with that in any sort of rational way? So I think, so I think it's so
life is a bag.
And by the way, like we also have conversations that are not financial. Like we also talk about things we like and cards that we like. It's just a financial channel mostly. So I think part of it too is people, when you come here, just compartmentalizing and realizing that, part of the goal generally, I mean, we also talk about that stuff too, but generally the goal is to analyze the market and what's going to happen, Obviously behind a lot of that and behind the passion is the enjoyment of all the cards and the arts. And so, it's about a lot more than that. Let's see. Yeah, if anyone has any questions or topics or whatever, can also start to wind down or just kind of hang out, relax. I'm actually not too exhausted yet, even though it's pretty late. How you guys doing though?
I'm good to hang till whenever.
Surprisingly, I'm good. I should go to bed, but surprisingly, I'm pretty good.
All right, let's try like 30 more minutes, around 1. So if people want to ask some more questions, give some more topics. Oh, right. We have a question up from Mason. I just see Mason. I just post your questions, Mason. We don't actually ask them. I don't think that they're serious. You actually mean for them to be addressed. All right. He says, on the flip side, are we in a golden age of Pokemon? Modern feels fantastic. Interested, particular what Joe has to say. Because he wants something positive to be said so that he can keep selling his product at his LGSs.
Really need to see what's coming down the pike with Scarlet and Violet and what they plan to do in the next year in order to accurately answer. Because I think that we're obviously phasing out this era, so I don't know what the next era looks like. Demand's up, popularity's definitely up. I don't think popularity's going anywhere. I don't think we're going to go back to 2018 levels of people not knowing what the word Pokemon is. Actually, somebody did the Google Analytics in one of their live videos recently. Who was it? I think it was in a PK video. About the standard. It was PKs with Cool Trainer Ryan and Rattle, where they just looked up the Google Analytics search on the word Pokemon card, and we're still way up. We're still way up on the popularity from where we were pre 2020. So I mean, we're down a little bit, but it's still up there. So as long as that stays high, and they still do new things with the hobby, really get organized play back in there. Maybe push something new with the anime or a movie or something to push Pokemon back. And somebody brought this point up, and I agree with it. The Pokemon Company really did not do that much for our hobby for the 25th anniversary. They really didn't. I mean, a lot of our popularity increase was from forces outside of what they did. it was kind of like a little bit of a letdown, honestly. I think they could have done more. There was no big movie, like maybe like redo Pokemon the first movie with a new way, like new art, or re-release it in theaters for the first, like do something to try and like tie it back, or like I don't know, a reimagining of it, instead of having it like be like something with Ash or something with Red and Blue, just something new, something to like tie in some of the nostalgia. They didn't do anything. I don't feel they did a lot at all. Will we get a concert?
I thought they did do. So Stephen Francis mentioned they did something. What was it called? They did some. I didn't watch it, or not
Didn't
all
they
of it
do
at least.
the Katy Perry and what's his name? The
Well, they did the concerts.
yeah,
Post Malone did a
his
thing
name Post Malone.
too.
That's
J
the one.
Balvin. But I looked it up. Generations they did in 2015. The little
Generations was
animated thing.
that was great.
They did something last year, I thought too.
It,
I forget
if
what it's called though.
if they did, I don't remember what it was.
Master Journeys.
Okay.
It was 12 episodes. I don't think I watched it all. Or 12 episodes for part 1. Part 2, 15 episodes, and then part 3 actually just came out, it looks like.
So everyone's saying in chat, like Millennium said that they did apparently do a CGI remake of the first movie on Netflix, and like they did Master Journeys and all that. But what I'm saying is that, do you guys remember like when Pokemon came out, like the hype? Did you guys all remember going to see Pokemon the first movie, or maybe you don't? I don't.
I do, and I remember that. Like, I don't know if that can ever be recaptured because I'm 32 now, and I was 9 when it came out. Like,
I'm just surprised they didn't try. They didn't try to put some piece of media out there, a new game, a new movie, uh, a new virtual reality, something or other, VR, something, like Oculus, something different.
Yeah, I want more like. I mean, I might regret this, but live action attempts. We'll see how they end up working. And I want more, and I want like a virtual reality video game, but that's going to take that. The virtual reality isn't there; it's just not there yet. So
I want real genetically engineered Pokemon.
yeah,
I mean, anything short of that and Riot.
yeah, very
but
reasonable.
To tie it to Mason's question, I think that if they could figure out somewhere to take this franchise that's new and different, like if Gen 9 turns out to be lackluster, then I don't think Modern's got a very bright future. I just don't.
Quaxley's in it. I'm bullish.
See, I like Quaxley. I like the fire
Fue
croc.
Coco.
Fue Coco. Yeah, I like Fue Coco.
I
mean,
think.
go ahead.
I really love where Modern is at, and new golden age of Pokemon. I mean, I can get behind that. Like, I loved Celebrations. I loved kind of journeying through the history of it. It would have been nice if they got a crystal in there and got like Legend, just hit everything. Why not make it like we had a 50 card set, maybe go to 80 and just hit every type of
I agree.
release.
My major complaint on Celebrations was it wasn't big enough.
I still loved Celebrations though. I loved like they went into they did do the solid gold card a few years back, but they did like cheap metal cards for the first time ever, kind of like innovating there. The Ultra Premium Collection was a really cool release. They're continuing to do these really innovative, I guess, new, fresh releases. And I really like where it's at. And again, I won't say the number because I've said it too many times, but they printed and sold a lot of cards last year. So people are really digging it, apparently. Some of that investment, hoarding, scalping, whatever, but like a lot of it was just genuine passion for the franchise too.
Yeah. I definitely have problems with Modern that I wish they would fix, namely the card stock. I wish they would they're not going to, because it's just cost savings they're not printing 9 billion cards on better card stock that would cost them a lot more money, and they don't need to because they're selling it. But I wish they would. I wish the card stock would go back to being the quality it used to be.
Yeah, I mean, I think Pokemon modern people wanting to open product and people wanting to do binders and people wanting to get created cards is all in a really good place. I just think it's more people's expectations are way too high. Like I think it's more that. Like I think if people's expectations were a little bit less, like people calling this stuff like investments and is going to like compound interest 10 to 15% every year versus like it's just going to like be people are still going to love it and be interested in it in a long time, and it may stay around the same, may go up a little, may go down a little, like that, like that's way better than Pokemon was 5 years ago. Like,
True.
you know what I mean? So I just think the expectations are like, from some is like this vibe of like, I'm going to get rich versus like the expectation of like LGSs are going to do well, whatnot streamers are going to do well, businesses are going to do well, and people who like to open and enjoy product and fill out their binders are going to be able to do that at like expensive prices, but like, you know, semi affordable for some adults at least. You know, that I definitely think Pokemon's very popular right now. You know, um but that's sort of my general like response to, I guess, this notion, Mason. So I think some of the negativity you're hearing is more of like the getting rich against sort of that, you know, that it's like a, you know, versus that people don't like it
Right.
or but again, it also depends on how much product Pokemon's printed versus the demand, and demand could shrink a little bit. We could still be in a like compared to 5 years ago, we could still be in a golden age of Pokemon or a much bigger age of Pokemon. But if Pokemon prints 10 times the product and there's only 5 times demand left or whatever than it used to be, and that's why sealed product might continue to do well, because people still want to open or might retain more value than the single. So we've talked about that, you know, but yeah, I think LGS stores and businesses, as long as this broader economy issue doesn't hurt people's like buying packs and spending power too much, which I do think is a risk, I think you're in a really good position. I also think there'll be less competition because I think more people will leave. I think it's, you know, the Masons of the world will still be here who've been doing it. You know, the Danny Fanups, the, you know, many people who don't have YouTube channels who do the exact same thing as these guys, you know, every day, and just don't have known names. You know, will continue to be successful and have survived and been successful in sort of more normal, quote unquote, normal times. And I think this time will be even better, like overall, than 2016. And as the competition gets lower, the people who are left will be able to have strong businesses, except for maybe that economy piece. But again, that may only last a year or two, you know, some sort of bad, fearful economy. And then we might have a really strong rebound, you know, with a lot of consumer confidence and people spending a lot and making up for the past 2 years. And, you know, oftentimes the harder things get hit and the more fear and downside, the quicker and more intense the upside and surges. So let's see.
So who was it asked? Nostalgia Lad had a question for everyone. He said, I'm looking to grade with PSA and CGC, but I live in the UK. What do you guys think of third-party grading services? I think he means that obviously are available to him at cheaper prices in the UK as opposed to alternatives, as opposed to PSA and CGC being the expensive alternatives. Anyone?
Does he mean third-party grading services? So
I think
that
he means
would be not middlemen. That means like alternatives to PSA
right, like
and
Ace,
CGC.
like Ace, or like any of the ones that are more readily available in the UK.
I think honestly, and this might, I guess I don't know how this will be received. In some instances, there's too much negativity towards some of these alternate grading companies. That said, don't expect PSA 10 prices, but what I'm getting at is if you're paying a reasonable price for the service of encapsulation and if they have some history of being plus or minus 1, because I don't think the mainstream ones are any more accurate than that a majority of times. Because fundamentally, the card doesn't change. When you put it inside a piece of plastic, it's the same card. People like to pay 2, 5, 10, 100 times more money if it has the right label with the right number on it. But to me, like, worst case scenario, you're maybe spending more than you have to get a different holder in it. But I've never owned an Ace card personally. I think the only companies I've ever owned are PSA, BGS, CGC, obviously, and then SGC. I have a handful. Map, old defunct company from a guy who passed away quite a long time ago. HGA, I've owned a couple. DSG and AGS, I've owned a couple. And honestly, like, as long as you're not paying a big premium, don't pay PSA prices for XYZ 10, 9, whatever.
So he's talking about middlemen services right here, I
Oh,
believe.
he is. Okay.
Okay, if he's talking about middlemen, then that's a completely
It's
different
third-party
situation.
rating
That's
services.
completely different.
Comparing the third party as in, like, you know, middlemen.
Middleman.
That's the way that I took it.
It's a good, you're answering a good question also.
Yeah, I think that's a really interesting question that I've kind of been meaning to make a video on.
Yeah, but I think he's talking about, oh yeah, here, as he says it later on. He says, yeah, middlemen. Sorry,
Middlemen.
guys.
That's the way I took it at first, but then I could see the other way.
Yeah.
I like middlemen. I use them. I think they get too much negativity as well at times.
I think they definitely have their place. I use them as well. Yep.
You need to be careful. You're not sending into Mark's cards. How you identify who is going to be that, I don't really know. The company that I use, I mean, to shout him out, I guess, Ludkins, it used to be. Charlie Herlocker, met the guy, know him personally. I had full faith in what he was doing. The new kind of spinoff from Peter, who was like Charlie's right-hand man in Ludkins US. I met him finally in person at Charlotte. I believe in him. I trust in him. I like what he's doing. And I have videos talking about when I use middlemen, when I go direct. And I think they're, especially being in the UK and all the logistics of shipping overseas, insuring,
Yes,
inbound and
insuring.
outbound, it's massive. But I guess don't go to Facebook and use any random person that calls himself a middleman. I'm
Yeah.
not even sure what the landscape looks like out there now. I'm assuming someone's doing it, but make sure they're very well vetted, very well established, real companies, insured, all that good stuff.
I continue just sending my cards to James over at
Yeah.
TNT Emporium, even though he's shut down services.
And then just text him and Cam immediately asking where your cards are.
Yeah, and I make sure that I every day. Yeah, exactly. I send them an angry email.
My post office scanned them as accepted this morning. Why are they not returned to me graded already? I mean, come on, guys. They've had them for 3 hours.
Yeah, they don't get enough hate and negativity as far as I'm concerned.
He should do like a Z reads his hate mail YouTube short.
Let's all send a shipment. Then he'll steal all of our cards.
Oh my God, Dan, I was laughing so hard on your podcast.
Send him a $10 bill with your card. Rate this.
When you when Nick was saying about shipping the 1 cent cards, and oh my God. I thought that would have been hilarious if the next day everyone just flooded him with 1 cent orders.
Yeah, go to Old School Pokemon's TCG player and buy like a 6 cent card. He'll have to ship it. He'll have to spend like minutes of his life shipping it to you, and he'll lose like 25 cents for doing it.
Could you imagine him waking up to those emails? Like you've sold. It's like 500 1 cent orders.
Oh God. Nick's crazy. Shout out Old School Pokemon.
This would be funny.
It really would be good.
It would be hilarious. I get some really good ones on eBay. I get some really good. The time people take to try and trash your item and then try and buy it from you are hilarious.
Yeah. eBay is funny. I actually have a folder. Nick did a video one time where I think he did like his top 3, top 5 worst eBay buyers and just like roasted the messages and all that. He didn't even censor usernames or anything. It was funny.
That's pretty funny. That's pretty
I
good.
have a folder going and I drop some in the memes channel on Discord from time to time.
I
I'm gonna
enjoy
have to
them.
check. I'm gonna have to check that out. I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah,
That's great.
I use the memes channel as basically just a repository of my fun eBay interactions.
Yeah. Yeah, I just lost.
A good one. This is what we talk about with like focus and hard work and determination that'll lead you to be a good investor. Ask the person you're trying to do business with to look up a price for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
Not great.
It's a fairly common thing, honestly.
Oh my gosh.
Not in its exact form, but that in the spirit of that. Why would I do it when I can just message you and you can go do it yourself for me?
How much should I offer you? Well, twice my asking price.
So Ben asks, "What do you guys think about the World Championship decks?" I'm actually curious to see what you guys think about those.
Where is
I
those
think he
questions?
asked it earlier. I've been buying them through wholesale distribution since 2016 was the first year that I bought it. So basically, just to talk about the release as far as the modern ones, it's a semi-standard product as far as every year they were doing it since I forget the first year they did it, but
2004.
so right off the jump then. So after the World's tournament is over, they take 4 decks and they sell it in a deck box of 8 decks. Joe's probably has one he can grab. If he doesn't, I can go the other side and grab one. But yeah, typically like there's masters,
Somewhere.
seniors, juniors. So typically they'll take like the 3 winning decks and then they'll throw in a wild card. Like they might take the masters second place deck, whatever it may be. But they'll produce like card for card the 60 card decks, and then they usually throw in a pin. It's a pretty cool product. They're not legal for tournament play. You're not getting for the cost of like I want to say wholesale. I buy the 8 decks for $60. It's been since 2019 since they came out because we haven't had a Worlds in 2 years. But I think retail on the decks is $14.99 or $19.99. You can get like a proxy of the World Championship winning deck. So it's a really cool release in that regard. It's actually like a unique product. Yep, it has a different back, so it's not legal for tournament play. It has the signature in the bottom right of the character box of the winning of the deck owner. So it's a really cool product in many ways.
Ink.
Yeah, not live ink. It's like a
Just
signature.
for people to know. They're not that cool.
digitally.
That would be really cool.
Yeah, but I like the product a lot.
Yeah.
One of
Shout out.
those really, really niche item, Rusty, TCA Gaming has discussed. He used to buy them fairly heavily because you get an exclusive, like the 2019, you got the Reshazard. You're getting an exclusive signed, like printed on sign, but it's a really cool product.
The old ones from like 2004, 2007, 2000, they have like you get the EXs, you get the gold stars.
Yeah, I graded a bunch of the Mews.
Dan's gonna go get them.
The
I think they're awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I sold some of those Mews for $1,000.
Wow.
The Mew Gold Star PSA 10, the World Champion version. Yeah.
I remember when I was playing one of my nice.
Yeah, so it's 2 of each deck, 8 total decks.
One of my driving factors, the reason I wanted to win Worlds so bad was to get my deck immortalized in this form with my signature. Like I just thought that was the coolest thing ever.
Yeah.
You get your own Pokemon product and a little snippet in the little insert. You get to talk about your deck, and I just thought that was so cool of them to start doing these, and I love them. I love the silver borders. I think there's a lot of collectors out there that want them. As far as like Jake was saying, he's graded and sold mean, it's a variant. It's a variant if you're a variant collector.
It's a pretty niche thing though. Like I can see
Yes.
why Mason has the take that Jake just had up on the screen. I can definitely see that because they don't have any playable aspects. But like Rusty and I have made some similar plays. He just makes them at a larger scale. Like that Battle Academy, the first Battle Academy that came out. Generally speaking, I think most people don't like it at all. But for me, I saw like exclusive Charizard, Raichu, Mewtwo GXs, exclusive non-holo. Rusty and I were grading 20 of each card, like the Pikachus, the Charmanders, the Charizards. And for buying a $12.50 at wholesale product that had guaranteed exclusive Charizards in every deck that I could grade and sell for $50 a piece, it's an obvious play in that regard. Again, probably one of those situations where people are bags if you're buying it for investment, not bags if you just don't want to do it yourself. And
Yeah.
so it's that same thing.
You're selling good quality items to collectors who want them at prices that they're willing to pay because you're willing to put in the work. What a upstanding member of the community. Bad.
It's good business. But it's niche. It's high margin, low volume type thing. Don't go and buy 10 pallets of it and
the
think
volume
you're gonna
fair. I mean, depends on the thing, but yeah, it can be somewhat limited.
Yep.
Particularly if you don't have experience, you want to dip your toe in with things like this usually.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I really didn't like them at all. A while ago, I hated the cards. I hated the look of them. I hated that they weren't hollow, that they had that like fake signature, and I didn't like the backs that much actually. But over time, they grew on me. So again, these things are very subjective. But I saw when the gold stars started going up, those were so cheap. I could get them for so cheap, and no one was looking at them. And I just went after the Mew, and I think I went after the Jolty on the EX. Those were the two that I ended up getting. I didn't go after the Flagon. It was a Flagon, right?
Yeah, I sell them and whatnot. So I have like a stack. But yeah, there's a bunch of the EXs. Like they have the Metacham, the Absol. I mean, there was a Latios Star was in one of them. Latios Gold Star.
Yeah, I had some of the Absol.
I feel like some PokeTuber must have pumped them at some point because I used to not be able to sell these individual boxes or the individual decks in between, but I don't have like tons of this stuff left sealed because I opened a lot of it to make those like niche plays. But the sealed value of those decks has gone up like pretty substantially now for a lot of them.
Question about the state of Topps Japanese. Any thoughts?
Is there a Japanese Topps product, or that's too distinct?
Asking Slash. So all Japanese cards, which is pretty broad.
Pretty broad.
Let's start with Topps.
Love them. I was that guy several years ago. I was cracking Topps Chrome Series 1 for $100 because it just felt like I had some when I was younger, not a substantial amount. It's really interesting to hear some people's takes. Some people were like, "Oh, that's Wish brand Pokemon." When my mom got me those, like I wouldn't even show them on the playground because I'd be a laughingstock. I don't really remember that perception around where I was. Like I remember some people having them. I don't remember them having to wear like a dunce cap or being shamed for it. I just remember like they're two distinct things. They're all Pokemon. They're all neat, but like I guess the TCG would have been better. But for me, like I was opening them several years ago because I felt like there was value there. I could crack a whole box, sell the two Technos for more than I paid for the box. So I was doing that. In hindsight, had I held on to a couple of those Techno Charizards I pulled, I'd be doing better than having sold them off. But like I still did pretty well. I like the arts. I like the parallels they have there, the different levels of chase. It's a cool product. If Topps came out and said that we're going to do 2023, a new Pokemon release, I'd be pumped. that's my take on tops. I kind of like it, but it is niche. It is distinctly different, but I think it's just also cool to me.
I dislike tops for the reason I dislike most trading cards. Pure trading cards.
No game.
No game.
Yep. That's fair. Yeah. I mean, I don't play TCG. So for me, it's like cool art. It doesn't have all the words there crowding it at the bottom, right? Like
They're all full arts, every one of them.
Yeah, they're all full arts, no text.
This is another very middle of the road take from Mason.
Mason throws away Topps cards by the dumpster full.
I still want to hear
because he's thrown away $1 million worth of Topps cards in the trash over the years.
I still want the Mason Nostalgianomics video.
These are some of my Topps chromes that are left from my mass box openings.
Wow.
I graded all the hits, like the big hitters, but I still got some Bulbasaurs. I still got some starters.
Oh, cool. See, I do think they're neat. I just you are doing the thing. You are doing the thing with them right there. You're putting them in an 800 card box and looking at them every once in a while. Like
I'm gonna be grading a lot of these with CGC now that I can. Saving some for PSA. Still underrated.
And to be fair, he might be right. I mean, are we talking as like an actual like opportunity to make money underrated? Like, are they underrated in that there's value in them? And I can't speak to that now. Or is he saying like they're underrated as far as like them, like do people like them? I don't know the price point. I don't know the current price point of Topps, what you can get them at, what you can grade and sell them at. I don't know.
The boxes are a lot. I think a Series 1 Topps box Chrome goes for like $9,000.
Wow.
Still, you think? I don't know if it's still that high. Let me look it up. I'm curious.
Man, this Topps topic is hot. Everyone has an opinion on these Topps cards.
So the current low list is 12,000. Last sold I don't think there is a last sold on eBay in the past 90 days. Must be.
I haven't seen one sell in a while. I think that's part of why I'm a little bit unsure of the price.
So people are probably asking 10 still, but yeah, none are really transacting. So a liquidity type thing.
Yeah. There were so many like Facebook breaks of Topps Chrome that I was saying. It was really interesting. There were some dudes who just seemed to have like endless boxes who were just doing breaks every day and making.
There were definitely people that had
money.
There were definitely people that had cases and cases, but did one guy have 10 cases and then most got broke? Like, who knows? I know that when I was buying,
I didn't mean it like that. I thought it was interesting that these Facebook guys, because like they didn't. It was just interesting because they didn't have WotC first edition. Some of these guys, they just had it Topps Chrome. Just interesting.
Yeah, I know when I was buying them for $100 a box, I wasn't buying every one of them, and some people had cases and cases. I think it was a 12-box case.
You were buying Chrome for 100.
I was buying Chrome for 100. I bought 2 cases, I think, and it kind of sickens me. Of Topps Movie 2000. I don't even know what those boxes are going for now, but like I pulled a handful of the first appearance. I pulled, I think that was the set with the film frame cards too. I sold a bunch of those at Worlds, like the film frame cards for 20 to 40 a piece, depending on what was in the frame. And then I sold most of my first appearances for 25, 50 bucks a piece.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's demand, guys. You know, it's none of this stuff is that rare, but that's the same with it's the same with everything. I mean, even including gold stars, like when we compare it to like hard number serialized stuff. So it's just demand. So, you know, there was no demand for these. They were $100 a box, and then demand skyrocketed. And in a pretty short period of time, and there just wasn't that much supply, or the supply was being carefully guarded or carefully sort of, you know, let out to not burn the market. Grading can be pretty difficult on these. Obviously, the technos are what? 1 a box? What are the techno pull rates? 2 a box?
2 technos, 3 sparkles, I believe.
Techno, 3 sparkle. Okay. So I mean, to actually pull the techno of Charizard or the techno of Blastoise or something, lots of boxes need to get opened for that.
I pulled 2 techno Charizards. I remember I bought a batch of like 6 or 8 boxes for around. That was when they were coming up a little bit. I think around $1,000.
Yeah.
And then in one of the first ones I opened a techno Charizard and sold it for $1,000. So I paid for my 6 boxes with 1 card. That card now, PSA 10, I don't know how real it is. I've seen it talked about 50K range, I think, for a PSA 10 Techno Charizard in the past year at some point. And again, like if we throw that back to the comparison of Torchic Gold Star PSA 10, TMB, CGC 8.5 or whatever it was, or the Creatures deck, the Techno Zard would be not last. It would be ahead of the Torchic Gold Star for me in 10, but it would be behind the other 2.
Yeah, I have a fairly complete set in Sparkle. Not
a lot of people do like the Sparkle.
And it was because I just like them, like for the price point, I just like them the best. And when I was buying them, it was not like crazy enthusiastic, but I would just sort of buy them when they came up on PWCC.
Mm-hmm.
And I definitely didn't expect them to do what they did. I was always more bullish on Topsoon and Cardass, and basically all 3 did the same, you know, roughly in terms of percentage. They all blew up. So,
yeah.
I'm just reading everyone's comments, and oh man.
But I don't hate. They're fine. Like Chrome, the regular tops, they're but again, I mean, they're not horrible. There's nothing awful about them. They're just not that interesting to me. But the Topps Chrome, even the Chrome base, I think is pretty nice. I think Topps Chrome generally does a good job in all hobbies. So, but yeah, I mean, I'm not. Like just the base is nice.
They should have went for this pose, obviously.
Yes,
but we need that sassy Charmander.
Yeah, I mean, this is the most important question of the night. And if James wants to come on live right now, I will stay up. We're about to end the stream. But if James wants to get out of bed, Kim, can you go over to James' house right now? Do you live there? Do you live close by? And get him out of his bed, and we'll open up. It's a good decision. We'll open up that jungle box right now.
That would be insane.
Let's just crowdfund. I'll pitch in $100 when he opens it, and they're no rarity cards. I'll pitch in $100 to like chip towards that 5-figure, 6-figure loss he'll be dealing with.
If it is a no rarity, I'll pay $5,000.
Is this the first? Is this the only? Because I know there's no definitive way of identifying a no rarity box for jungle, right? There's no. But this is the best leading guess we have at a true no rarity.
And sorry, when I say jungle, I mean base. I don't know if I said jungle. My brain's getting tired.
Right. Wow. Yes. You said jungle, and I was right.
I probably said jungle. That's why you said it. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sitting there thinking, no symbol. Right. Yes. But yes, I meant base.
Yeah, I think it's kind of like the decks. I don't know off the top of my head what the code is, but I think there's a certain code that gives it a chance to have no rarities. That's kind of how short crimp is. I don't think there's a video of a short crimp deck pack being opened and getting no rarity cards, but I think there's pretty good evidence as to why that would have been one of the earlier variants or whatever. But yeah, that's the kind of thing that like once you crack the seal, that's
Kim, are you getting him?
I love no rarity. I would flip if that was a real no rarity box.
Yeah, I'll buy $5,000. I'll buy a pack.
Nick and I don't think he'll have trouble selling them if the first one he opens has no rarity cards. We need to crowdfund to cushion the blow when he opens one and it's regular cards.
If it is regular, I will give him $12.
$12. I'll throw in $100 to watch that. He'll be losing $100K and I'll be losing $100.
$100 is a lot for that.
We only need like 500 people to pitch in 100 each, and we can cover his losses probably.
I'll go live right on Whatnot right now. We can stream it.
Yeah, let's sell the packs on Whatnot.
Let's sell the packs.
There you go.
Auction them off. No explanation of what the product is. Just auction them right off.
Oh my God, what's his name? Going Twice made an absolutely hilarious TikTok. It's the epitome of every freaking stream you're in with people asking you to auction stuff off. It had me in stitches. It's hilarious.
I remember when back in the day, James and I actually had a private conversation before he bought this, asking about. We talked about, do we think that's a good buy? Like, he asked me, would I rather own a first edition base or would I own that? And we had a whole conversation about. So I remember when he was looking into getting this, and this was when he was going to sell it to Logan Paul, and he was, and then he was like, what am I going to do, with that money?
Wow.
When he like made his appearance in that video, hilariously, but no, like, I don't think it said who he was, and I don't think he said anything. He just
he was on screen for a few seconds, I think.
Hilarious.
He made a good joke the other day in Discord about he sold one of the most iconic liquid. He probably feels a little bit better after the last auction where it went for like $200,000, but he traded so much down in liquidity and just what's the word I'm looking for? Just people knowing that it exists, recognizability, I guess. There's a better word for that.
All right, let's answer this question, and then let's slowly, then we can, and then Mason asks, is Chumlee still awake? We'll answer that one. It's an important question. Get Chumlee. We'll get Chumlee to break the box. That's how to get the people in. All right, what made you start YouTube, both of you guys?
You
want to go first, or you want me to
go? Well, I had actually started my YouTube back in 2010. And I originally started it because I liked there were very, very, very few pack opening channels, and I liked opening packs on camera, and I did it to discuss decks that I was making, different types of competitive decks and breaking down deck analysis. So those were the original two types of videos I did with my Sony CyberShot Handycam. And then I stopped forever and a day, and I started it back up as a way to try to connect with people in the hobby during the lockdown, because couldn't go to League or do anything to actually interact with people, and nobody in my family knows anything about Pokemon. So I figured if I started YouTube back up, I could start to have conversations like this. Yeah.
For me, it was so many reasons. I guess I'll hit a few of them. I think I've answered it more succinctly, but let me go on a little bit longer than normal. So 2020 was insane. When 2020 occurred, I had the idea at some point that Pokemon might be able to be a full-time thing. So part of it, I started my channel in March of 2021. Late 2020, my first experience with YouTube, being on YouTube, was with John, Pokemon Radar, a close friend in the hobby. That conversation, that chat was awesome. That chat led Jake to reaching out to me. And about a month later, I had my second experience with YouTube. Those two conversations with Jake and John were just so fun. And it was so cool to put it. They weren't live or anything. They were pre-recorded and then put out there. Just really fun. And then a few months later, Nick, another good friend in the hobby, hit me up, old school. Hey, you want to start a podcast? So those three things happening were big steps towards it. But in my mind, there was also I might do this full time at some point someday. And YouTube, as far as the business side, not that I'm going to go be a 1 million subscriber full time off YouTube alone, but I think YouTube funneling in and feeding with Instagram, and the same thing with eBay, everything working together. I think that's just a good branding type. Some amount of money comes in through that, not much at all. Maybe someday it'll grow more. And then I guess several months before I started my YouTube, I started my Instagram. I'm not much of a social media guy, but the main reason I started my Instagram when I did, just to document my journey, take pictures of everything that I owned and like that I had in the time, a snapshot in time at what I owned. And not only that, but like cards that would pass through my hands. Like right now, I no longer own the Pikachu number 2 and 4. I might never own them again. I sold them to Rusty. 10, 20, 30 years from now, if I'm still doing this, if I'm still thinking about Pokemon, I can scroll back on my Instagram and I can see those cards all together. I assembled a set that how many people will ever
It's pretty
assemble.
cool.
And I can think back to doing it and the memories and all that. And then YouTube is just the next level of that. Like I've been interacting with this hobby for 8 years now. 7 of it was pre-YouTube. 6 of them were pre-Instagram. I opened so many amazing boxes. I bought so many amazing collections, and my memory's not the best. It's decent, but like I wish I had memorialized some of those things a bit more in depth to where I could relive them a bit.
That would have been cool.
It would have. So part of it is like start the YouTube to just when I buy a killer collection, document it for myself selfishly, and then for other people too. Cause like, I think it's cool and interesting. Like I know I watch YouTube and I see the video where PokeRev bought a huge collection, like a massive collection, a game store. Those kind of videos are cool. So I want to put my own spin on content and I want to have it for me. Time capsule, look back. Maybe I never will, but like maybe I will. So yeah, a lot of little reasons that all added up to why I went for it.
I wanted to become very famous. I've always been like really fame hungry.
Money, all about the Benjamins, baby.
Yeah, and the money. That's true. And the power. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the respect, from the community. Not the Pokemon community, but the larger sort of broader social community. I find that I get a lot of respect because I tell people, hey, I have this like tiny Pokemon YouTube channel that I do. It's really cool.
You get recognized when you go to the grocery store. Like, oh my,
no big deal. No big deal. Yeah. Yeah. I refer to myself as Pokenomics at parties, just kind of normal dinner parties, social events. Yeah, I started the channel because I felt like no one was creating analytical content at all at the time that I started. Some of my first videos were doing deep dives into pop reports and other sorts of things, maybe 10, 15 videos. And, now we obviously do our presentations once a month on Patreon that kind of does a lot of that. I feel like that's a better place for it than YouTube is not so much a place for. I mean, Dan does the spreadsheets and does some numbers, but and then there were just some channels out there that were just like just lying to people and giving horrible information. So I just wanted to combat that basically. And then as time went on, as people, built a little bit of a community or following or people who were interested, became a great way to just like make friends and meet people and have people on that I enjoyed. And it's a tool for me to like showcase people, help people grow their channels, help people grow their communities. I think a number of people have, come on this channel and enjoyed it or been encouraged by it or that sort of thing, which is nice. But mainly it's just like a group of friends, hanging out, talking about what we like. And that's why I still do it, why I still enjoy it.
Yeah.
But in the beginning, it was I had more of a mission. It was more of like combating misinformation. And really it was like my concern about the mania and the hype and, that increased as time went on. But it was sort of like, I didn't really feel like a lot of the channels maybe had a lot of, it was two things. One, didn't have a lot of either they didn't have a lot of like investing experience. They might have had Pokemon experience, but not really like broader market experience. Or they had like no Pokemon experience, but were like financial advisors, but like didn't really have much Pokemon experience. Or I felt like they had uh, what's the word? Dual relationships with their audiences, meaning they were both selling, they were actively selling to their audiences while they were giving them financial advice on what to buy and not buy. And I've always been uncomfortable with that to some degree. It is inevitable. And obviously, Dan does it, Echo does it. I do it, but more secretly or try to do it more secretly. But I mean, people contact me through Instagram and I will sell things, and that's through the channel, so I mean, it's inevitable to some extent, but there are different levels of doing it. It's one thing when you're literally like pumping up certain cards and then selling those exact cards to people.
Yeah.
Pumping up. And there's just all various degrees of ickiness, from extremely icky to like, pretty normal, but maybe mildly uncomfortable. And I just think that the more, some people will just be honest no matter what. So I think why I was attracted to Dan as a partner early on, and why I liked Dan and had him on the channel, was like Dan and I had very candid conversations where we would say, don't buy my cards. We're actively selling these cards for these reasons. I wouldn't buy them. I don't think they're good investments. Like those types of discussions where you're actively sort of talking against your best interest publicly. And I appreciated that. So obviously people are capable of doing that, and I'm sure Echo as well is capable of doing that and being, telling people like, hey, yes, it's in my best interest. I want to sell this, but, and maybe not actively while you're streaming on Whatnot, but maybe on your channel. I mean, there are ways of, trying to figure out how to best do that.
I think it's interesting because I don't sell things for much more than MSRP, so I never feel it's not an issue.
It's also makes sense up, yeah. And it might have come up more if you were doing it more in the hype,
right
when things were going. Because if you get distributor product, you could then immediately potentially sell it for double or so, and sort of like those sorts of things.
The only time I definitely do get a better margin on it is like pre-release weekend, like when I go. But I'll go and buy my own build-in battle kits from the guy I know who runs the Pokemon League, and we would be having pre-releases if that was a thing right now. But I will buy extras. I will buy a bunch, and I will sell them. I will try to beat everyone on to the market with them. Yeah, and they will go for a premium. They will.
And I don't think there's any ethical issue there. I mean, I think, getting a distributor connection takes work and time, and and you build it up. And my issue is more with like people who knew like Vivid Voltage would be reprinted, but were still telling people to buy it at 200 and were actively selling it, and knew they were literally like getting distributor information and gonna get re-upped, and or people who know better telling people that Pokemon never reprints something or they won't reprint it. Yeah. It's that type of stuff. It's like actively shilling up your product with things that you can't possibly know. That's completely different than selling at whatever market is, and you just got it cheaper because you have distributor connections. Now, I do think it's good, to be honest, but like, are you going to say that directly to the person buying it in the moment? Or are you going to say it more on your channel that's more of an education teaching channel, like how you handle that? Dan, obviously, like, gets, there's some now, Dan, I mean, like Dan does a breakdown on his UPCs, and he's like, might sell his UPCs right now, but he's been honest and said, I got them for what, $50 or something, or $80 or
80. Yeah, I think.
So it's, I'm very honest, right, about that. I bought this card for $12 or $15, and now I'm selling it for $5,000 or $4,000. It's not good salesman.
I also think that the people that are buying those two items from you, that the inevitable person who buys it might not be the person who sees your video either.
Yeah, 100%, 100%.
There's been times where people reached out to me on eBay, like especially 2020. There were people like, "Do you think this is a good investment?" And I would just say, "I'm selling it at this price." Like that should tell you something. All I'm going to tell you, like, I am selling it at this price. Because the reason I would never say specifically no or yes, because if someone asked me, honestly, if
it's a no-win. It's a no-win question.
Well, if a family member asked, if they really came to me and were like, "Hey, Evolution's booster boxes just went from 100 to 300. Should I put 50 grand into them? I would say hell no. But I would not answer anyone that on eBay, because for a period there, and even to today, putting 50 grand into Evolution's booster boxes at 300 was an amazing play. You made a ton of money. So like, part of the reason I would never say EV at 300 is terrible and stupid, well, it tripled after I sold it for that. And
well, what we do is educate, and we talk about the positives and negatives and the risk. We don't tell people for good reason
yeah,
Right.
that what's going to happen, because we don't know.
I never tell specifics. I would just say, like, all you need to know, like, I'm selling it for this, and I have 10 more to list once this one sells.
Exactly. And what you can say, and booster boxes are tougher, right?
Sure.
The PSA 10 EV first edition was a really good example. It's part of why we don't talk that much about it's much easier to predict, or somewhat easier to predict, what was going to happen with a card like that, because Dan and I knew we were each sending in 100, and we knew 100 other people were sending in 10 or 20, so it's a supply thing, and we're talking to the people who are buying them, who are comparing it to first edition base, thinking it's as rare as first edition base. We know how many are pulled per box in Jungle. We know how many Jungle first edition boxes are currently being opened up. We know how many are left, and yet it's getting the same price as like base set first edition. Decent comments in the comments, and the reason is because people don't understand what this card is, right? And because we know all of that, we can explain all of that, but with the caveat that at the end of the day, if demand is high enough, it could eat up all the supply. It's just very unlikely. There's just a lot of risk there. So, that's sort of the best you can do. All right, let's end with the two-parter, the second part of this. What's a good way to grow your channel?
Don't ask me.
Let me know if you find out.
Seriously.
I know how to, and it's not the way I do it. It's not with bad titles and thumbnails, and it's not with
Open
no
mouth thumbnails.
editing. It's not with an average video length of 25 minutes. It's not with telling people your card might go up and it might go down, and talking about like giving both sides for 10 minutes each. Generally speaking, people just want their decisions reinforced largely. If you like look at the content that succeeded in 2020, it didn't have to be accurate. It didn't have to be based in any form of reality or logic. If you told people they were going to make money and what the top 5 investments were in 2020, you got 100,000 views.
I watch videos now that get 30,000 views that just are wrong.
Yep.
They're not it's not an opinion.
And what is it doing?
Wrong.
It's positive, and it's saying you're going to make money if you do XYZ thing.
Yeah, or it makes claims that are just like, all right, like this area of the market is up right now. This area of the market's down. But it's like, no, like some of it.
It's got a good thumbnail. It's got a good title. It's like snappy.
Likeable. It's snappy. Got a little background music.
Yep.
Yeah. And just look at popular YouTube channels. Like, copy popular YouTube channels, whether it's in the Pokemon space or in other spaces. It has to feel and look like a polished professional YouTube video, which has a certain feel to it, and I just have absolutely no interest in making those. So, for me, playing the game was making those like 12, 15-minute videos that I wanted to on topics that I thought would be fairly interesting, but I also wanted to talk about. But for example, you want to follow the trends. So like you want to do like a Pokemon, you want to have an early Pokemon Go video. If I did like an investing in Pokemon Go video, it would get 10,000 views probably. If I put a good thumbnail, it could get me 12 to 15,000 views on my channel, which is like what my investing in modern, like some of my better, my more popular videos got. I could probably get 10,000 to 12,000 views, and I'd probably gain 100 subscribers or so. And then maybe some of them would filter in and actually watch and engage the content and would actually become really strong community members. So it would probably be, but I just don't want to do it. F that, it's like even just making one of those videos feels like a cop out of like of what I like. And It's just annoying. The YouTube game's annoying, and I don't want to talk about Pokemon Go. There's nothing to say that's useful or relevant or interesting or valuable about that set from an investment perspective. It's just nonsense.
And I don't have the personality, the charisma, whatever it is. I don't have the ability to even make them and I know that, and I'm fine with that.
Welcome to Pokenomics. Today we're going to talk about investing in Pokemon Go. Guess what, guys? Pokemon Go going to the moon.
You smiled way more than I like to do.
Here are 3 reasons why Pokemon Go is going to be the next celebrations. People out there are telling you that it's boring, that it's bad, that it's negative. I'm going to tell you something different in this video. Just wait, and then just go like that, and then some fancy music.
And then a cut, fade in, fade out.
Now, which YouTuber just came to everyone's mind right now? I bet it's probably somebody different for every one of us.
But it's just awful, for me.
What's up, Hard Squad? Oh, squeaks.
Yeah. So
there's a couple other interesting questions. I want to
but people like those videos, and it's
and there's nothing wrong with that. People like to be entertained. There's a lot of things on TV that I could never make it. I don't consume it, but I understand that people do, and it's
people like it. I guess I don't really understand it, but yeah.
People like being loud, flashy. People like stimulation, right? And the videos I make, go look at what I dropped today. It was 25 minutes, me talking at a spreadsheet. There was no, maybe a little bit of mental stimulation if you're actually thinking through it. But generally speaking, people like to kick back and relax and be entertained passively, not having to actively think through things.
I will tell you that, and this is, maybe not going to feel the best for people, but again, people here are watching my channel, so it's not insulting. But it's, if you find this boring, you are not super interested in investing in cards. So there are people out there, the number one critique, people don't tend to argue so much with my arguments and want to have debates with me online. The insults that'll be thrown at this channel will be it's boring. It's there. Why we're not showing cards? We're not energetic. It's too it's too it's not black and white enough. You're not making strong enough claims or points or that type of thing. If you're seeking that, you are not probably a good you're probably not built as an investor, or someone who's very interested in the nuances of a market or very passionate or interested in that sort of thing. It's just, that's just I think that's pretty objective. I think that's what bothers me or worries me about some of these channels saying they're investing channels, and then people feeling like they're investing, but they're not actually talking about data and spreadsheet, and again, we don't do it on the channel. We do more of that in the Patreon, but that's the only so for example, Leonhardt's channel bothers me zero. I know it bothers people zero. I don't get it. I don't get the Leonhardt hate negativity at all. I think it's a bunch of, and there are probably people here who hate Leonhardt. I see people in chats and places all the time are he's so cringe, this or that. I don't care. He's not giving any financial advice. If you don't find him entertaining, just don't watch him. I like his videos. I think he seems like a really nice guy. It's not he doesn't feel like someone who I'm gonna like that personality doesn't make me feel entirely comfortable when I just hang out and relax. I don't find it completely soothing, but I like his videos. I think he's great, and I think he's been wonderful for the community and treats people extraordinarily well. And everyone who's told me that they've met him has said great things and that he's a great guy. And I actually have a family friend who's friends with him.
Oh wow.
Said wonderful things. So I just don't get it. But I had a little bit, I don't have any problem with PokeRev anymore. I think PokeRev's channel is really good. In the beginning, I had some issue because he was giving financial advice while he was selling packs. And I made some videos about that and how I felt it's when you start giving financial advice and but you're not really going that deep, and you're not studying the market that much because you don't actually have a passion for investing. You really just like saw this as like a good niche, and you felt like you could like broadly talk about it and get a bunch of views. If I'm being honest, that's what I think about a lot of these people who are in this niche. But if you're doing like entertainment content, opening packs, being funny, being like charismatic, being interesting, coming up with like exciting games, why would you be? That seems. Why is anyone upset with that? I just don't get it.
Yeah.
That to me is just crapping on what someone else likes, and that's not. That's annoying to me. Now, crapping on bad content, that's like saying it's good investment advice, but it's telling you nothing, and it's giving you no information, and it's giving you incorrect information because the person's lazy and they're just sort of regurgitating whatever. But it's the internet. I mean, you're going to find that the endless amount of that in like stocks and crypto and,
it's everywhere. Yeah.
But whatever. It is what it is.
Yep.
It's funny. Somebody in chat asked what our favorite holo was from the EX era, and I don't have an immediate answer for that, but it's definitely going to make me go through every one of my binders until I find my favorite holo, because there's a lot of good ones. But no, I never thought about that, but gave me something to do.
Yeah, I need to look through my binders. I don't look at enough EX era to know them all off the top of my head and have any that really stand out. I'm bad at answering what's your absolute favorite thing. Oftentimes,
I like some of the Sandstorm. I really like Flareon.
Yeah,
some of the Sandstorm hollows are really cool.
So I really like.
Sorry, the EX, just regular EX hollows.
No, I think he means like any holo from any of the EX sets.
Yeah, those are just the regular.
Yeah,
hollows.
yeah. I definitely like a lot of the ones in Team Rocket Returns. I know that a lot of those cards are really cool looking. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, even some of like the commons, uncommons.
Yeah.
Like the Gyarados is like an uncommon, I think. Right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Great cards. Yeah.
Great card. The Dragonair. Such a good
beautiful.
Card.
Yep.
Beautiful card. There are two arts, right? One of them I like a lot better than the other one. I don't know.
One of them's simplistic. One of them's really good. Yeah.
So. But yeah, I mean, what I would say again to the advice on this, like, like growing your channel, like you got like, I think as long like if your goal is to grow this is my personal opinion on it. If your goal is to grow your channel, all the power to you, as long as you're not like taking advantage or lying to people or doing content that's going to make them spend money in a way that's bad for them, then you and I have zero issue, basically.
And if you want to see how to grow a channel, like Pat Flynn, Deep Pocket Monster right now is one of the quickest growing channels in the space. So look at what he's doing.
Yeah.
Look at what the big ones are doing. Unlisted Leaf, PokeRev.
Let's be real. Giveaways are the key. It's the untalked about thing. We talk a lot about like charisma and quality and camera. What percentage of those channels do you think are there for giveaways and actually subscribe and so that they're eligible for free things? I bet it's extremely high.
That's definitely, yeah. I mean, I think all those channels, I think when we went live, I think Deep Pocket Monster had an active giveaway going on. I think you see a lot of them from a lot of those growing channels.
Yeah. So, and the giveaways can be a win-win, because people are getting stuff. And it's also helping the person grow their channel and get more people watching and engage, which then increases the YouTube algorithm, which then gets more, as Pat Flynn would say, super fans or people who are there maybe also for Pat, his personality, his style of content, his videos, and are there for giveaways too, but also there for him. But you're going to get a certain amount of people who are there just for the giveaway. But again, as I said before, that can help then with the algorithm to bring in more people. So for example, like if I did giveaways or I did flashy titles or these sorts of things, I would actually increase the base of people who actually really liked the channel. I would also get a ton of people it would just be a ton of random, people who had no interest too. That's the reality of YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think? Echo? Where are you at with YouTube these days, my man? What's your, are you like, do you want to?
I make videos. I could care less if I grow, honestly. I make videos I like. I have a lot of different types of videos I want to do. I have a lot going on personally. And so actually somebody asked me earlier in the chat, they asked me why I don't. They're like, you have, your eBay, your whatnot now. What is preventing you from going and doing Pokemon full time? I have. There's lots of answers to that question. I have personal goals that I'm trying to achieve. The number one thing, honestly, is because I've actually been contacted by people other that shall remain nameless on whatnot, larger channels that want me to partner with them to be an East Coast. Because one of the ways to get your channel very popular is you have to run 24/7 streams, basically. So there's operations that have 10, 12, 20 people working for them. One of the channels, it's just him and three other guys, and he's on the West Coast, and he wants me to do a possibly an East Coast branch where they could have streams going all the time, to take your channel closer to the top. Anyway, but it would require me to quit my job to do it. And the number one of the reasons I don't do that is it took me a long time in my professional career to get to where I'm at, and part of it would feel like wasted effort. And I very much like the place I work. It's the best. I My job is not the most enjoyable job in the world, but out of all the jobs I've done for the last 15 years in this career, in this field, this is the best one I've had, and I don't want to risk that because I don't think I'll find another one if I need to go back to it that's as good as the one I have. So there's that factor. Um, but in addition to that, um, one of the reasons I don't do as much YouTube is because I am streaming a lot, and it does take a lot of time. It is like a second job. Um, so it's not that YouTube's really a back burner for me, but um, whatnot helps me achieve my personal goals more than YouTube does. YouTube is more of a fun outlet for me, and it doesn't rank on my list of priorities. Fun goes underneath of responsibility. So I have a lot. I'm getting married in November. My family is moving in soon with me, so we've been doing construction on my house. Um, back and forth drives to where my fiance lives now, 3 times a week to visit and see the kids, and it's just I have a lot going on. Um, I don't have as much time to focus on a YouTube channel that's purely for fun. Um, and I'll have even less time. I will try to find a way to integrate it when I start Pokemon leagues back up again, because I do want to vlog those leagues on a Sunday basis and upload those, because I think that's an interesting style video that doesn't really exist in the community, is doing more of a vlog, like a first person style video. And I think that would be easier to do, especially maybe if I hire an editor to chop it all together for me. So I'm looking at doing that. YouTube wise, I'm looking to try and do that with my channel. But I have other series that I like to do, binder flick through series, a lot of other things. I have all these competitive decks right here that I've yet to break down from when I played, and I've wanted to take every one of those and break them down and explain, the strategy behind them and the format and why it was put together. And I've wanted to do that for a very long time. I just don't have the time to do it. I just don't have the time to do it. So YouTube definitely is a secondary priority for me over trying to accomplish my personal financial goals.
Yeah, no, it's I mean, to actually monetize YouTube, or for it to like actually be worth it, you have to figure out how it's either going to, as sort of Dan said before, kind of funnel or connect to some of your other businesses, or you really have to get like 20, 30,000 views a video. So it's I think for most people, it's best used as a way of just connecting with people, a way for them to have a voice, a way for them to have an outlet. a way for them to meet and come on things like this, and certainly Echo. I mean, we could say it's exactly what I think your YouTube has probably been. Probably a good description, right? Just a place where you can, share your thoughts with people who are interested and engage with people who are interested in the same thing, as you, and then meet people, like, become a little bit more public so that you can, meet other people a little bit, easier,
Yeah.
effectively.
Yeah, I would love to go to a Collecticon like that. I'm very jealous and very envious, and I feel like I'm going to miss out because I would like to meet a lot of you guys in person. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, it would be fantastic. Probably next year, if I go. I don't think I can make it happen this year, but I like
Cool.
that is a good that would be a good crescendo to doing the YouTube thing. It would feel like all of it was worth it if I got to talk to everybody. Then actually, it would feel like I've been to cons before. I've been to lots of cons growing up. I was a huge nerd. Went to Gen Con. I went to Otakon. I've been to lots of cons. I've never been to a Collecticon, but I know that they're a great time in general. And yeah, it'd be fantastic. It'd be a lot of fun.
All right. It has been 45 minutes over when I said I'd probably be wrapping up the stream. So that's probably have another 10, 15 minutes left in us, but no. I think we should probably end there for tonight. Thank you both for hanging out.
Thanks
Yeah.
for having me on.
Oh, Dan, it was great finally get to talk to you, man. I've been wanting to do that for a very long time. That was awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, nice chat.
Any last minute topics from either of you guys that you really want to cover, or things you want to ask or talk to with each other? And obviously, we can all do this again anytime.
Yeah, Nick and I will have to have you on at some point.
That would be cool.
We're only doing one guest a month, but we'll definitely have to have you on Pokey Flips.
Oh man, that would be awesome. You guys are hilarious. That would be. I've done one live with Nick already. We went on I think PK. Nick's great. That would be fun. That'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm not going to Long Beach. Sorry,
Yeah,
Cam.
I was about to say
you got to come up to Denver. I think he knows. He's just trying to. Nick's doing the same thing right now. Yeah.
Gonna be a lot of dead people to you.
Yeah.
The majority of human beings are not going to be there.
When Nick was booking his table for Long Beach, he's like, "How many tables should I put you down for?" Denver for me.
So many people are going to go to Denver. So I think it's going to be a blast.
More videos.
I might
more
go to
videos. Do more videos.
I'm bad at doing content at the conventions. I'm bad at I want to be in the moment, experiencing the moment, not looking at the moment through my phone.
There's 12 of y'all. Why don't you pop a camera out? Come on.
Thankfully, we did have Zach. Zach took quite a few pictures and videos. He's good with that.
So I definitely want to. We'll definitely get a table or a bunch of tables at Denver, I think, and it will be somewhat of a meetup spot. I've been thinking it might be fun, Dan, to maybe connect and offer some people the ability to sell some, and particularly people maybe never sold before, want to bring a few slabs, just put it in the case. I don't know. I've been thinking about some ideas, but we could have a sign up sheet or something. I don't know. We can spitball it more offline, but I thought that would be a cool. I want to do more for the Patreon, the Discord, and just for channel. You don't have to be in the Patreon or Discord to come be a part of any of this. I thought it would just be cool to do more, use some of those events to do more meetups, and also get people experience who haven't had experience selling in a comfortable way, where they don't have to have a whole case to themselves, or they don't have to do it alone, or I don't know.
Yeah, because it is a big hurdle to the table, the displays, all that stuff. It's a pretty big expense. If you could just have access to being able to put out 5 slabs, that would be a pretty interesting idea.
So, all right. Thank you all for watching. Go subscribe to Echo Based Collectibles and I guess Dan's channel too. It's pretty good.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Yeah.
It's fine. It's pretty good there. And we have Rusty coming on our Patreon this month, which will be sweet. So that'll be in a few days, and Rusty's going to do a little bit of a presentation, and then just hang out with us and have a conversation. Answer questions people have. I'm sure we're all, a lot of people have questions for him. So that'll be fun having Rusty there. If you're not in the Patreon and Discord and you want to be a part of that and join the conversation, the link is below.
Do it.
It's $10 a month. You get access to our office hours where you can ask us questions once a week for an hour. We do a monthly analysis presentation at the end of the month, a Zoom thing, and you get access to just sort of like the Discord where there's always conversations happening, and it's a good way to meet people. And people have started new Discords off of our Discord, which is cool. Like people have met and started their own, and like all that stuff is great. Yeah, and we just really appreciate the continued support to like every person who signs up for our Discord. Like it means something to us. It matters to us. We care about and appreciate each one of you. And we just, if you have any feedback for us, we're always open, and we're just trying to bringing people like Rusty and other people on is just our way of constantly trying to do something different, something special, something unique, kind of trying to push the envelope of what we can offer, and the office hours, and then hopefully with these collecticons and other things, some in-person stuff. The more people who engage and enjoy it, the more things we can hopefully do in the future.
Oh, can I ask you guys something real quick before I go? Have either of you guys ever seen this? So this is from 2000. It's a craft promotional pack. It's Team Rocket cards, and it's sealed. I have no idea what cards are in it. But I've never been able to. I should probably post that on
That's
E4.
a good one for Rusty, maybe Rusty.
Yeah. I should probably post that on E4. I've never been able to have anyone identify what that is or where it came from. I've never seen another one.
Was it in the macaroni and cheese?
It was in the year 2000.
Huh.
Well, anyway. Outside of my area of knowledge.
Yeah. Not in my wheelhouse either.
So I guess that's any last word or anything to add, Dan, to anything I said? I leave anything out? I guess we can say it's going to be this Sunday,
8 p.m. Eastern.
8 p.m. And also when you join, you get access. We record everything, so you get access to all the old videos. You get access to all of our spreadsheets, all of the documents. And you can download all of that. So you only have to technically sign up once. Yeah, so even if you can't make the 8 p.m. live, it'll be recorded, and you'll have access to it afterwards. I guess that's probably everything there.
Yep.
All right. Well, thank you all. Thank you, Echo.
Thank you, guys.
And we'll do this all again soon.
Yeah. Thanks, chat. Lively chat throughout. A lot of fun.
As always, guys. Thank you.